Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to the season finale of the SimRacing International Thursday GT3 Championship Season 12 as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. That's right, after 9 incredible rounds of intense racing action, 9 weeks have passed us and we have made our way today for round 10 of 10 and here we are back in the United Kingdom for the one and only Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. And your host to the British GT Championship decider known formerly as the Donington Decider, this circuit is absolutely steeped in motorsporting history, where it being open wheel race and of course once host to the European Formula 1 Grand Prix and the infamous drive from Ayrton Senna in those absolutely tragically wet conditions, all the way through to modern times racing, where it be British GT, touring car racing action, you name it, races here. It is a circuit that is not to be underestimated. 2.49 miles in length and consisting of 12 corners, it is a circuit that is fast flying at its core, but also it has 2 low speed corners right at the end in the form of 2 hairpins. And what it means around this circuit, running bumper to bumper is absolutely critical, and overtaking opportunities are plentiful in supply. At every corner you can go too wide, however absolutely seizing them is going to be tricky, and therefore you might need to be a little bit braver on the brakes compared to most circuits if you want to get fully alongside and try to make a move happen. With every move up the inside, there's also valid defense from the outside to the inside to the next corner, and that's what makes overtaking here very tricky, and it makes it a tantalising prospect to try and take pole position from the outset in order to lead the way all the way home to the final checkered flag of the season. Alas, where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this broadcast from the circuit side. We are live tonight, of course, as I stumble over my words there with a mixture of live and post-round broadcast that we've had this season. You have to forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little weary in the brain, but we are back here once again today, live from circuit side for our Superstar split to see how it all concludes for our pro, also our inter and our club drivers, and of course in the teams championship that's across both splits. This broadcast available to you on one place, and of course that's live on YouTube at youtube.com and search for SimRacing International, SRI. And of course we have 2 broadcasts running in parallel today. We have the broadcast from Superstars with myself, Paul Walsh. I'll be your host and commentator for this round, in the Superstars at least. And meanwhile in the Masters split, well, you're in the very capable hands of none other than James Bostock, who returns to the broadcasting booth to be commentator and broadcast director. And as always, he'll be joined by none other than Darren Thacker. And well, go tune into them as well. If you can have both broadcasts on simultaneously, go for it. But if you want to stay with us here for the Superstar split, we absolutely love you and feel free to stay here as well. But as we get ready to go racing for the final time this season, well, it's only fair, ladies and gentlemen, we immediately bring up to speed with the story after 9 rounds of racing and exactly how our championships are set going into this season finale. For as we can see, plenty of rounds are played out, and with each and every round that we've had, it has been an absolutely phenomenal season thus far, and well, it has been a tour of many a major circuit. We've been to the Hockenheimring, we've been to Spa-Francorchamps, to Mugello, to Fuji International and Brands Hatch. That was the first half of the season, when mixed conditions abounding at Spa-Francorchamps and Fuji International. Then from the sunny skies in the Garden of England, it was Kent on the 30th of April. We made our way back to Belgium for everybody's second favourite Belgian circuit, Circuit Zolder. That was round number 6 on the 7th of May, and then we made our way to Japan for Suzuka, to France for Magny-Cours, and to last time out, Road Atlanta. It's crazy to think that was our only round of point-scoring racing that we've had this season in the US of A. Of course, we were at Sebring for our pre-season opener back on the 26th of March, but last time on the 28th of May, what exactly went down at Road Atlanta in our Superstars split? Well, firstly, the conditions. We were expecting mixed or unpredictable conditions, but in the end, it was gentle cloud all the way through the day, and there was not a drop of rain at all, whether it's in practice, qualifying, or the race. And that meant that the conditions were straightforward, but nothing was straightforward when it came to the racing itself. Whereby in qualifying, we saw the top 5 overall of Corey Price, Richard Simnor, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, Niels Belkarga, and Brandon Dyer, all separated by only was a grand total of 126 thousandths, or just over a tenth. It was so close between them, and there was a further almost 2 tenths to 6th place starter Ben Woodgate. Meanwhile, further down the order, with Road Atlanta being a circuit so many were familiar with, having of course raced in the annual Petit Le Mans as host on iRacing in tribute to the real-life event, the 6 hours of Road Atlanta on an annual basis. We got to see the qualifying times be exceptionally close, including for pole position in the inter and club classes between the leading championship contenders. And also some late improvements by drivers who saw them jump up several positions overall, and that was all down to the fact it was hundreds and thousands that separated car to car rather than our typical temps. But when we did go racing, It was a dramatic open lap, no doubt about it, with the opening corner of lap 1 seeing a major off for Elliott Court, your pro driver who went flying to the weeds, and it forced him to retire. And a huge spin as well, and a bit of a tragic spin it was in the club class for championship leader Adam Lynch, who collected his main rival at Jack Giles in the process, and it forced both drivers to tow to the pit lane. And as a result of that, what it did mean that suddenly the championship fight really was brought to heel, and we'll show you what it's done to the complexion of that championship very shortly. But understandably, in the heat of his post-round interview, well, Adam Lynch was not too happy about what happened, and he felt absolutely terrible for the fact that the one driver he collected as a result of his spin was his main championship rival. He wanted the fight to go to the wire, and he wanted to be able to beat Jack Giles on circuit in a fair fight, not by taking his rival out of the fight per se. But still, we've got plenty of positives to talk about there very shortly, and what it's done to motivate both drivers coming into the season finale. At turn 5 as well, on the open lap, we saw Niels Balkarga have a big spin into the barrier on exit, and Raz Harper was caught up behind it, but everyone else did well to take avoiding action, and for DDK Racing Team with RaceStatBot.com, all the hopes then laid with Jared Love. Meanwhile, after those incidents, we saw the races settle down and plenty of back and forth racing action unfolded up and down the field, but especially between Brandon Dyer, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis and Ben Woodgate for second place overall in Pro, and also the club win and podium spots between Eddie Theobald, James Fraser and Martin Brandon. So who exactly were your winners in the Superstar split at Pro at Atlanta? Well, we got to see it, Pro and overall, it was Corey Price. Now for Corey, it was a runaway day in the office. Nothing seemed to be able to slow him down other than himself, and therefore he absolutely led the field away and brought home the win by 11.1 seconds, and he managed the race perfectly. Meanwhile, in the interclass, it was Bobby Moss who missed out on class pole to Jared Love by only 300ths in the qualifying session, but he took the lead on lap 1 after starting on the road behind Love, and the pair were inseparable throughout the entirety of the race, albeit they were constantly seeing their battle intervened by none other than the pros of Joris Peters-Veem and Richard Simnor and Andy Jones, which meant that Bobby Moss was given the space to control the narrative up front and bring home the win ahead of Love by only half a second at the finish line, and as a third win of the season for Bobby Moss. Meanwhile, in the club class, Eddie Theobald, who, if you'd looked at his qualifying time, you would have thought there's no way he could be winning in the club class, given he struggled in qualifying, taking only 9th place in class, and it was 7/10 off of the pole time set by Adam Lynch, and with it 30th overall. However, with the lap 1 instance that unfolded, we did see Eddie Theobald leap his way all the way up to 3rd in class by the end of the open lap. It became 2nd when Dwayne Hoffman retired following an error on lap 11 at turn number 5, which saw him repeat what happens to Niels Balkarga on the open lap, and then we saw Theobald had to furiously chase down James Fraser, who was struggling on unchanged tyres in the final laps of the race, and James Fraser admitted in his post-round interview it was the first round of the season where he chose not to change tyres in the pit lane when he always does, and he came to regret it immediately as the pace fell out the car, and saying the Moonshiners Racing Club driver was denied his first win of the season, and Eddie Theobald was able to take the win instead, and it was his 2nd win of the season with it, matching up to that brilliant win early on in the season and none other than Brands Hatch. But that was last time out, and here we are today. It is the 4th of June, it is round 10 of 10, and we're here at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, and whether you're in Masters or Superstars, you've got a 1-hour race ahead of you in clear skies as well, with a little bit of cloud, there's sunshine abound, and therefore this is going to be plenty exciting, no doubt about it, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be truly a straight-up fight between all of our drivers. But in terms of how the standings stand after a grand total of what is 9 rounds, we start off with the Pro Drivers' Championship, and as we can see, well, our top 12 here, leading the way, Richard Simnor. However, he won't have felt as though he was leading the way of Road Atlanta, because he started 2nd, just missing out on pole to Price by only 15 thousandths of a second, but he outqualified all of his main rivals, that being Brandon Dyer, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis and Niels Balkarga. However, at the start of the race, we did see him fall a little bit further down, and then we did see what was on lap number 8, a major spin, dropping all the way from 2nd to 7th, and he fought his way past Joris Peters-Veem, but it took most of the race, meaning he had to settle for 6th place, 6.4 seconds off of the top 5, and so Richard Simnor still leads the championship, but his lead has been slashed to a grand total of 16 points over Brandon Dyer. Now for the Altitude 3M Esports drive, it was a fight for 2nd every step of the way, having started in 5th, and he fought his way all the way through on the open lap to be 2nd, well, not on the open lap, in the opening stint, we should say. Well, they would love to have done it on the open lap, but it was a fight all the way through the opening stint, and he was just able to gap Tomlinson-Dennis in the 2nd stint to take that 2nd place by 2.1 seconds. It's moved into 2nd place for the first time this season, and well, can he get another podium today? Can he get the win today in order to be able to take the crown off of Richard Simnor? And we'll tell him more about the permutations in this class in due course. But meanwhile, let's not forget your 3rd man in the party, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, the man who started 3rd, he finished 3rd. He had a very strong round compared to Magny Core, and he really did need it, and constantly attacking Richard Simnor on the open laps, it did put a lot of pressure onto Richard Simnor, and it could have been the core why Simnor had his big mistake on lap number 8. However, we did see Tomlinson-Dennis lose second place to Dyer on lap 18 into turn 10, and he seemed to gradually fall off the pace just little by little, his Lamborghini losing the tyre life advantage that the McLaren did definitely have. And in the end, what it did mean for Milton Tomlinson-Dennis was that whilst he was able to recover some of his pace towards the end of the race, he was looking more increasingly threatened by Ben Woodgate for third place, rather than able to put the threat on Brandon Dyer for the second, and therefore it was a third place. His fourth podium of the season. It's crazy to think we haven't seen him on the podium since his triplet of wins right at the start of the season, but a very important podium for Tomlinson-Dennis, and could it be the rebound he needs coming into this round? Niels Boutkarger sits in fourth, and the NJP Performance Driver unfortunately not on the grid for the season finale, I do believe, because of the fact, and well, he's the biggest winner of them all today in his personal life. He is getting married as of today, so congratulations to Niels and his partner. We wish them all the best on their very special day, and well, for the NJP Performance Driver, he heads off into the sunset, and well, it's very likely he'll either finish fourth or sixth in this championship, all the way through those places right now, but understanding for him, he's definitely winning being in the marital status. And congratulations to the German driver for that. And we won't see him on the grid for this round, but we hope to see him back in season 13. Ben Woodgate then could be the man who sees that fourth place, the Inter-Racing team driver. Now he's got Raz Harper, only 14 points behind for DDK Racing for close company, but Raz Harper, of course, on back-to-back non-finishes. Corey Price, with his maiden win of the season for Darkwing Racing, has moved up to 7th, and right now is trying to chase down that top 6 as quickly as he can. Sadly, won't be seeing Leon Seeley in the season finale grid due to personal circumstances, so the Samantha Racing driver will go as far as 356 points, and is very likely to fall behind Daniel Page, who's only 6 behind for Daniel Newman Racing Red. Your speeds being completes your top 10 on 320 points. He's only the best part of 24 ahead of Charlie Walker for Relentless Racing, and Elliot Court completes your top 12 in the pro class. Then we come to the interclass, and here we can see Jared Love leads the way for DDK Racing with RaceStatBot.com, and well, 3 second places in a row. It's a crazy statistic with 3 wins, 3 seconds and 1/3. But right now, all he needs to do is finish close behind Bobby Moss, and he will be your champion, given the gap of 36 points. However, he would like to get that 4th win on the board. He would like to break the deadlock of wins versus Bobby Moss, who now has 3 of his own and 2 second places and 1/3. So he's pretty much been shadowing the results of Jared Love for the majority of the season as a SimRacing Collective driver. Meanwhile, in 3rd place, it's Sam Hockley, who cannot steal the crown away. He cannot steal second away. What he can do is steal a few hearts and make sure he finishes 3rd in the championship today, although he's looking very set for it, versus Adam Smith, who we hope to see on the grid for Euro Titans Endurance, although he may be a late joiner. Still, we see the Britain down 450 points, comes to be ahead of Ross Young, who right now is trying to hold on for 5th place, but it is a tie currently between himself and Alfred Kirsten, and he is ahead only on result countback in the fact that he was the driver who took the 3rd place first out of the 2 of them, and also he does have a 4th place there to Alfred Kirsten's 5th, the next highest result of the pair. The Simstrap by Glass Tech driver, meanwhile, sits in 6th, and the Dane had one of his best performances of the season last time out, and Brad Pickett sits a further 32 points behind there in 7th place, and looking for a little bit more after his non-finish and 2 missed rounds. Kyle Roy sits in 8th. It's been a bit of a frustrating season for the Scottish driver, ahead of Luke van Goertel, who not on the grid last time out, but he's got 2 wins and 2 DNFs. Or will we see him on the grid for the season finale? We'll have to wait and see. But behind the MJK SimRacing driver on 286 points, it's a further 8 adrift to Villa Catona for Beowulf Racing team, who completes the top 10, and Mark Collicott and Nicholas Carlson complete your top 12 in the interclass. Meanwhile, we come to the club class, and here we can see Adam Lynch on 710 points. He is 90 ahead of Jack Giles, and right now means the privateer versus the Euro Titans Endurance driver. All he needs to do today is finish the race. He can finish anywhere, given the fact we have 9 club drivers in attendance, and now guarantee him the 10 points he needs to become champion. And should it go to result countback, he will still win, given the fact he does have 3 wins. And if Jack Giles was to win, would be 3 wins apiece, then we'd go to 2nd place results, and Adam Lynch would have 3 seconds to Giles's 2. So therefore, Adam Lynch pretty much is guaranteed the trophy today, unless he has a retirement early on and scores no points. This round is undroppable, and it would require Jack Giles to take the victory in the club class. That's the only way theoretically can steal this away. Christopher Petty sits in 3rd, the priority, and he has no chance right now of really taking that 2nd place unless Giles was to have a non-finish of his own, at which point he'd need the win to steal that 2nd place. However, he's in a fight for 3rd place for Eddie Theobald, who on that 2nd win now is closing the gap, only 32 points behind, and James Fraser is a further 18 adrift, and Ashley Shucksmith falling away a little bit, but is the best part of 38 points behind the leading trio in that battle. The priority internally 4 points ahead of Rob Gregg, who's come forth, much like James Fraser the season gone on, and Jordan Butler as well. That non-finish last time out cost him some huge points, otherwise the Full Tilt Virtual Motorsport driver could have been a lot closer in amongst that top 5, and well, he'll be looking to beat Greg today for Moonshine's Racing Club at the minimum. Steve Hughes sits in 9th place on 312 points, 100 behind the top 8, but in turn equal points to Dwayne Hoffman. Now it's going to be a battle between the 2 of them for the 9th place spot, with Martin Brandon a further 12 points behind, also looking to get involved with his first podium of the season in his Audi R8 LMS Evo 2, and the Axis in Sport with SimWorks drive proving that he's been able to come through the season. Struggling with the car to a degree earlier on, but definitely one of his best drives of the season last time out. And Philip Harris completes your top 12 in club for Eurotitans Endurance. But as for the team standings coming into this finale, well, as we can see, we have our champion select. It is Glass Tech Racing with an incredible result to end their season last time out at Road Atlanta, albeit it was a bit of a civil war between some of their drivers. But in the end, a win in the Pro Class in Masters was for William Humphrey, combined with second place in both Pro and Inter for Matt Hoyland and Nick Stuber, and it has meant they have taken enough points to be uncatchable at this point. So therefore, the big question is, who will be second? And well, the great news is we get to see most of the racing for the battle for second, because we have, in Superstars, Eurotitans Endurance currently in second place down 1,230 points. We also have the entirety of DDK Racing Team with RaceStatBot.com in third, only 10 points behind, and then it is a further, the best part, they have 100 points back to Axis in Sports with SimCoach, who are predominantly a Masters team, so we don't get to see them on the grid, nor do we get to see Ellis Racing in our split. So therefore, it's a four-way fight right now for that second place spot, and we have the two leading teams in Superstars. Outside the top five, Darkwing Racing, can they potentially snatch their way back into the top five and steal away a trophy or two? Because they are right now not too far away from fourth and fifth, but they have their own pressure of Axis in Sport with SimWorks only a further 19 points behind them. Also, do not forget Dexterous Motorsport Cyan, they sit in 8th currently, looking to potentially make one last leap after falling from 5th to 8th. Can they get on the rebound today? Because they really would like to rebound into that top 5 if they can, because that's where they were before they went to Road Atlanta. DCW Racing, they've got for 10th tonight, the DCW Racing blue outfit, and the oscillations continues, but they are gapping Samantha Tan Racing, and can they maintain that gap to Team STR all the way to the end, who are on 934 points? But keep in mind, the 11th place is GPX Sport Xenon, who've gone from 9th to 11th, and they'd like one last hurrah to bring themselves back into the top 10. Again, they are 17 points behind, but in turn, they have Moonshiners Racing Club, only 5 points behind them, so we could yet see MRC in the top 10 before the season is done. But where exactly are we completing the season then? Well, of course, it's the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, located at Castle Donington in the county of Leicestershire in England, the United Kingdom. 2.49 miles in length or 4.02 kilometres, depend on your preference of units, but what doesn't change regardless of units is the number of corners, 12 in total, many of them British household names, if not around the world. And a huge thank you to iRacing.com, not just their brilliant simulator, but the absolutely fantastic track maps contained within it. And as we can see, this circuit all about the fast flow for the opening at what is 10 corners, and it comes down to 2 very sharp hairpins to really slow the pace out the lap, and it is why many a driver will say they prefer the national layout, which bypasses the S's, and instead it becomes the Roberts S's, a different variant of turns 9 and 10, and we do not have the 2 hairpins of Melbourne or Goddards. But still, a map is one side of the story. We've got plenty of elevation change, so a 2-dimensional diagram doesn't really help bring the circuit to life, but what does is make it a way back to circuit side and see exactly how it all goes down in qualifying. We'll make our way back, ladies and gentlemen, and let's take a look at what exactly is going on with regards to our qualifying times. And well, as we do see Ashley Coupland make his way around, he's currently the fastest of everybody in this qualifying session so far, with 13 minutes left to go. Well, this is a very impressive performance so far from Ashley Coupland, given the fact it's been a long time since we've seen him right towards the front of a qualifying session. But he is currently ahead of Milton Tomlinson-Dennis by only 400ths. So immediately, if you may be asking, with Richard Simnor only a further, what is almost 800ths behind, how exactly does Richard Simnor win the Pro Championship? What does he have to do in order to be able to make this all happen and work out in his favour? Well, the good news is we're just about to get that data available for you, but the long story short is, should he finish ahead of his rivals, he will be your Pro Champion, given he is the championship leader coming into this round, so it does make sense. But to put it into a little bit more context, if Simnor takes first or second today in Pro, he is guaranteed to be your champion. However, should he finish third or lower, it then comes down to who finishes where. Bearing in mind, of course, that Brandon Dyer, in the situation whereby Richard Simnor finishes in third, should Dyer finish first, and he will become the champion. Meanwhile, should Brandon Dyer fail to finish first, instead finishes second, and I do believe Milton Tomlinson-Dennis takes the win, then it will mean that Sunday, Richard Simnor would be your champion still, but Milton Tomlinson-Dennis would just hit Brandon Dyer to the post, and that's where all the exciting intrigue comes from, the fact we've got so many variants here. So what we're going to do is rather than try to walk you through every single one, the one thing you need to know, if Simnor takes first or second in Pro, he has won the championship, provisionally subject to any Stewart's inquiries. All the others, we will keep you updated as the racing goes on, exactly what the permutations will stand by. We've got our spreadsheet all set up. It's easier to do it that way rather than try to bombard you with so many statistics. Indeed, we'd even run out of space on our abacus here in the commentary booth. But meanwhile, as we make our way over to the grass there, and well, that's not normally how you do the run through Hollywood. Still a bit of a blockbuster moment there for Jared Love as he makes his way back onto the circuit, albeit unconventionally through Hollywood into Craner curves, and then the hairpin goes spinning out there. Well, hopefully this is a sign that he's getting all the spins out the way now as Jared gets the car turned back around. The DDK Racing Team driver only needs to finish 5th or higher today in the interclass if he wants to be champion as the leader. Meanwhile, Bobby Moss needs to take the win, and he would need Love to finish 6th or lower by comparison. So the SimRacing Collective Esports driver does have the pressure on him in his Porsche 992, and right now it is Love who's the faster of the two of them, as Love steps aside there to make sure he does not impede Bobby Moss. There's one thing to note, understandably, is that if a driver does pick up any licence points, their racing licence at SimRacing International, as a result of this round, rather than giving them licence points, we deduct championship points from the driver straight away. So therefore, this is not all done until the race stewarding is complete, and that's why you need to be on your best behaviour, even in the season finale. Even when you're almost guaranteed to be champion, you still need to behave yourself, because you could have the championship taken away from you through licence points, and, well, you don't want to be someone who's lost it after you theoretically won it. But who exactly is the third fastest right now in at the interclass? Well, the man who Jared Love has openly said he wished he'd seen him up there, given the fact it has been a bit of a battle of the Scots earlier on the season at the Hockenheim Ring. We saw almost an all-Scottish podium in the interclass. Well, Kyle Roy, who's had a bit of an up-and-down season, he's definitely on the up today. He is only currently 2 tenths behind Bobby Moss in this qualifying period. But meanwhile, as we do look to the club class, Adam Lynch currently parts up, and, well, currently the fastest of your club drivers there by a sizable margin of what is effectively almost 7 tenths to Jack Giles. And, well, Adam Lynch, and this is why we want to talk about the positives here of their contact between the two of them at Road Atlanta. Now, we didn't get a chance to catch up with Jack Giles after the race was complete, at least if my memory serves me correctly, but we spoke to Adam Lynch and we talked about the positives, and he's come here today not just to take the club crown, but to take that 4th win of the season. And Jack's taking the approach which is, I want to prevent Adam from taking his 4th win of the season. He suspects that it's very unlikely, indeed the probability is low, that he will take the club crown today unless Adam Lynch was to have a retirement. And again, not trying to emphasise that to invoke it through the commentator's curse, but that is the only exceptional circumstance by which it would happen. But Jack Giles would like to take the win, and it would be a little bit of a I told you so moment, or a little bit of a finger point to say, well, it hadn't quite gone wrong for us at Road Atlanta. Could I have been champion? And it always leaves some question marks out there. But understandably, both of them here today just to enjoy the racing and see who will take the final club win of the season. But don't rule out the other club drivers, including Rob Gregg, who makes his way into pit lane, currently the 3rd fastest of the club drivers, and he is the best part there of almost 3 tenths of Giles' time, but in turn a tenth quicker than Jordan Butler, and, well, it does look very stacked there towards the back of the field of club drivers. That goes to show our class assignment system working out very well in terms of how we categorise our drivers going into each and every season, and all the club drivers, apart from your pole sitter, right now together from 25th through to 32nd. Butler only the best part of a tenth behind Greg, and it's a tenth to Christopher Petty, the privateer, who looks very stealthily once again in his Porsche 992, and will make his way on around here and try to go under the radar as best he can, and that's when he's got his best results, is when he's gone under the radar. Martin Brandon, meanwhile, a further 4 tenths behind almost in his Ferrari, of course switching from the Audi to the Ferrari, and I think in fact he made the switch at Road Atlanta, so apologies for the confusion there saying about his Audi at Road Atlanta. It was not, it was the Ferrari, unless my memory does not serve me correctly. And still a 3rd place result. He's looking for another top 5, not a podium here today as he heads to the round. We also do see Philip Harris further down the order, but back here once again, and well representing the Eurotitus Endurance team, and is a Corvette today, the Z06 GT3R. I believe he swapped the car for this season finale. He's decided to use his 1 free car change. Well, this is going to be the last of the free car changes in the GT3 Championship, because as of next season, a little bit of spoiler perhaps, but for season 13, which we'll tell you a lot more about towards the end of today's broadcast, we are seeing the car changes still permitted, but if a driver changes a car, they will be deducted championship points. It is no longer free, and therefore that is just to tighten up the rules a little bit, and also make sure we don't have any balance of performance surfing from drivers who may jump from one side of the field in terms of a car to another based on BOP updates. Indeed, you lock in the car you start the season, or you pay the price in terms of points, with the aim to be to try and beat those deducted points later on the season through picking that better car for yourself. Well, you never know, to be fair. Sometimes that's the way it goes, and, well, that car change always available, but it will be penalised as the next season, whereas this season in the Superstar split it has still been free, although do keep in mind, of course, in Masters it has not been free. In fact, it has not been available at all, but we are going back to our Split A and Split B format for season 13 after experimenting with the Superstars and the Masters splits for this season. We always like to do things new here at SimRacing International, but sometimes after experimenting experimenting, we go back to what we're comfortable with. As James Fraser and Eddie Theobald round out the current qualifying order. Well, Adam Smith is currently in the pit lane. Now, intriguingly, Adam Smith, I believe, he's actually got his partner to take the car to the pit lane for him. He's currently not available. I believe he is working from home, albeit he's currently in a meeting with regards to his work, and therefore he's going to be jumping straight from his meeting into the car if he can. So he will be joining, I suspect, midway through what will be the warm-up session, Adam, and if so, we'll have our trio of Eurotype endurance cars out there, which will be fantastic to see. What's also fantastic to see is a good number of you in the YouTube chat, including none other than Denny Ploger, who's cheering on Rob today, and we hope you're doing well, Denny, and thank you for the kind words, and indeed, it's always good to be here, and I'm very excited to see how this season finally plays out, and we also do say hello to Peter Duke there, who says all the best to Jared Love, bring it home, and indeed, Peter and Jared, teammates last season, back in Season 11, Peter not on the grid for this season, although I do believe we might be seeing Peter return to the grid for Season 13. That's what I've been hearing, although I don't know if it's been 100% confirmed. And, well, no pressure on you, Peter. You're welcome to confirm it if you desire. If not, you can keep us guessing. But whilst you keep us guessing, potentially, we're going to jump aboard for a flying lap of the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, brought to you by Ash Coupland. Made his way in towards turn number 1, breaking into Redgate corner, 100 metres from the apex, he goes onto the anchors, down to second gear, as late as you can apex it, and now flat out, going through Hollywood, the right-hander completely blind over the crest, and now blind again as you come in towards the crane of curves of turn 3, you've got to turn in and pray as you keep the car to the left to open up the old hairpin. Onto the brakes, 140 metres from quarter apex, turn number 4, and now flat out up the hill, going all the way under Schwann's Bridge, and in towards, well, in fact, Starkey's there, and now in towards Schwann's Curve, and then McLean's over to the left, and keep it over there to open up McLean's corner at turn number 7, as he exits out. Now the flow completes his way up to the highest point, in towards Coppice Bend. You brake blind over the summit, and well, by the time you cover the brakes, you chuck the car to the apex curve in third gear, and now make your way onto the back stretch. But here he goes then, down towards the S's. And as he gets ready for the braking zone here, looks to his right for his brake marker. It will be at the 100 metre board. He goes onto the brakes, down to third gear, chopping his way through, making sure just a touch while the rubber stands there. Nothing more than that. And now make his way down into the Melbourne hairpin. Brake at 150 metres from quarter apex. Now it's downhill as well, so it's a longer braking zone. First gear there as he exits out, get the car rotated as quickly as possible. And now make his way up towards the Goddard's hairpin at turn number 12. And here it's braking downhill once again. A slight gradient and a huge gradient, but Koopman goes deep and, well, decides to go for a much later apex. He V-shapes it off, and I suspect that gets set for another lap. So he's not quite happy at that one. He decides to go all in for the next one. But still for Ash Coupland, a 25.63A is the time he's set to beat earlier on. And well, can he get any closer to it? That lap wasn't quite it, but he's still hoping for a little bit more as he makes his way all around. Milton Tomlinson-Dennis still pushing hard, so is Richard Simnor. With only 4 minutes to go in this qualifying session. All drivers right now out there giving it everything. And, well, are there any surprises? Are there any changes? It seems a lot of drivers are struggling to find additional time at the moment. Whereas Harper did improve before he came into the pit lane to a 25.83. The DDK Racing driver up into 6th place, should head of Brandon Dyer. Where is Elliot Court? He's down in 15th place. Meanwhile, he's currently parked up in the pit lane. You can see Raz Harper in front of him there. The 2 DDK Racing cars together. But meanwhile, on a mission here, coming across the timeline, Eddie Theobald has improved in sectors 1 and 3. Is it going to improve there from 30th place? No, not quite. As Mark Collicott, he does improve. 4th place now in Inter. This is looking impressive for the DCW Racing Blue Mercedes driver. We haven't seen him on the grid too often this season, but when he has been on the grid, he has normally been quite impressive. Corey Price, meanwhile, your impressive winner from Road Atlanta. Well, this is not an impressive 12th place at the moment. He's got to find a bit more time and find it soon. Now, Thomas Weston makes his way across the line. And, well, you may notice he's back at a McLaren today, and those of you who are eagle-eyed, you will have noticed that when he did switch to Lamborghini Huracan Evo, it was a second car change this season, which was not permitted, and therefore for Thomas Weston, it actually has been a season whereby the last couple of rounds points have been annulled, because the rulebook says that if you do change your car more than the limit permitted in the SimRacing International Series, your results are disqualified for the round, and, well, it makes sense, of course, if you've turned up in a car you're not expected to be in, so therefore for Weston, it's been a couple of rounds where he's thrown all that effort in, only to find out afterwards, oh, I haven't actually scored any points, but to be fair, he's kept us plenty entertained in the pursuit of positions, and he's back here today in the car he should be in, and we look forward to seeing what he can do with the priority as he heads on around. But Milton Tomlinson-Dennis tries to improve. He's going to have one more go at this. In fact, he's just improved. He has halved his deficit to Coopland, now down to 200, so 25.659. He is finding time out there, but he's having to literally claw it out of the air. And well, right now for Tomlinson-Dennis, he's got 2 more laps to go and see whether he can put it on pole position overall, and if so, it would be a huge achievement to do that, but understandably it is proving hard to him. Now, as he makes his way on around, we look to Sam Hockley as well. This is a bit uncharacteristic, being down in 21st place or 7th in the interclass. It's not where you want to be. And, well, for Sam Hockley, the Chaps Motorsport privateer, he's normally been inside the top 5 on a regular basis. Now, to be fair, when he has qualified outside the top 5 in the interclass, he has normally brought himself forward because he's a very consistent driver in his McLaren. But even so, this is a bit of a weaker qualifying points from what we used to. And a car that should be quite quick around here. The McLaren does love the direction change and the fast flow of the Donington Park circuit. But still, we'll have to wait and see what he can do. As meanwhile, Mark Collicott comes out of the final corner and decides it's time to come into the pit lane. But what about Joris Petersveen in the very colourful BMW M4 Evo as he makes way out in his G82 classification machine in terms of the model number given by BMW to their cars? Well, as he makes way into the braking zone just in front, and there's Jared Love. Petersveen has improved in the open half a lap, comes out to the corner. And does he improve this time as Milton Tomlinson-Dennis uses him as a little bit of a tow barge? And was the couple across the line? Is it going to be improved for me, the driver? It is for Tomlinson-Dennis. It's pole position. It's a 25.509. It's a tenth quicker than Ashley Coupland. He's found 1.4 tenths out there. Well done to Tomlinson-Dennis. And he spins out. And Leon Seeley is back on the grid. Well, I didn't think he was going to be here today. But Leon has made it to the season finale. And Samantha Racing, well, that went under the radar. But I think he's decided to keep it quiet. He was coming back and he surprised us here in the commentary booth. It's fantastic to see that both of the Samantha Racing cars are out there. CD invalidates his lap, but fourth place. He won't be too upset about that. But Ben Woodgate goes on to one last lap. And as he does so, we jump on board here with the McLaren 720S Evo driver as he tries to see if he can go higher than the fourth row. So going through that right-hander, and in fact, qualifying is complete, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we do apologise there. We have forgotten a key detail, which is that this round has no overtime for qualifying, and that, unfortunately, is due to a limitation, a technical limitation with being able to host races here at Donington Park, at least what is races with up to 60 cars, and therefore we cannot have overtime in qualifying. And don't ask me, I haven't coded the simulator, but it is a technical limitation that we have, and we do apologise for not informing you of that earlier on. So this is the only round in Superstars we have no overtime in qualifying. But what a session it is, and in the end, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis just able to steal away that pole position right at the very end. Going to be absolutely pleased about that, no doubt about it, as now we are in the 5-minute warm-up session before we do go green flag racing. And as you can see, everyone will be on the dry tyre today. We have no expectation of any rain here whatsoever, and therefore it does mean that for all drivers, they can just focus on doing what they do best, which is going absolutely quick and giving it everything in order to pursue victory. And that will definitely make it a very exciting prospect here today, albeit, of course, there will be that one pit stop for what will be fuel, with changing tyres is always optional. Again, drivers are welcome to try and no-stop the race if they think they can do it on the tank of fuel they're allowed, but based on all the racing we've seen this season in the Superstar Split, I doubt we're going to see a no-stop attempt today, or if a driver was to do so, they'd be so far off the pace per lap, it would not be worth their time. But as we spend the time looking back to Andy Jones's car, the DCW Racing Blue Welshman, well, of course, in the cat liveried DCW Racing Acura NSX Evo, the 2022 car, which has sadly been retired from most series in the world for GT3 racing. The Acura car, which intriguingly, of course, for those of you who love your trivia regarding GT3s, is the car that inspired the transition for most manufacturers to go to 6-cylinder engines, moving away from the typical V8. Indeed, this being the first car, it's 3.5 litre V6 engine, twin turbo supplemented, the road car featuring the 3.5 litre V6 engine, but of course the road car being a very experimental car, being driven by what was two electrical motors at the very front and then at the 3.5 litre V6 engine in the back, bringing together a combined total power output of approximately 570 brake horsepower. But the racing car you see here unrestricted around about 650 brake horsepower, but through balance performance brought down to around 525 brake horsepower. But this car arrived on the scene of GT3 racing in 2015. The Evo Mark 1 model arrived on the scene of racing in 2019, and then the Mark II, which you see here, which is just called the Evo, and the reason for that we'll explain very shortly. Well, this car arriving in 2022. Now, the reason why the Evo Mark 1 and the Evo Mark II are both considered to be the exact same car is because on the outside there is very little change to them. The only difference, and the way you tell the difference between an NSX Evo 1 and an NSX Evo 2 GT3 car, is the rain light. On the back of the Evo 2, there's a very small vertical light. It is very small, however. Blink and you'll miss it. it is on the back there. Otherwise, on the EVO 1, it is not on the rear bumper. And, well, that is the difference. Underneath the hood, in the suspension, and also inside the car, there are significant electronic changes for the EVO 2 model, and also the suspension was slightly adjusted, but you won't see that, of course, from looking from the exterior of the car. You feel it as a driver. So, therefore, that's why the EVO 2 and the EVO 1 are just considered to be the EVO model, as they are effectively, for intents and purposes, the same looking car, minus that one small difference with regards to the rain light. And as Andy Jones comes into pit lane, we can see it there flashing on the back. That is the light we're referring to. That light not on the EVO 1 model. It was in fact a little bit higher. That's the only way you can tell the difference between the two of them visually. But as he makes his way down pit lane, well, Schubert Cardozo, meanwhile, excited for this round of racing for the Inter-Racing team. And I can tell you how excited he was, because down in the paddock in the build-up to this round a couple of days ago, he was asking, so how will we know where we finished in this race in terms of where we finished in the championship? How are we going to know? And well, in the end, we had to inform him at SimRacing International we will be providing the visual standings after the racing is complete today, and we will show you those standings after the post-round interviews. We've got plenty to show you in the post after the race, so do not step away after the race is complete, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got interviews, we've got the standings, and we've got a lot to reveal with regards to next season, and also some other things going on at SimRacing International that you may be very much interested in. And also there's the question, of course, of the Superstars versus Masters event, which will be coming up, but more on that later. We won't spoil everything for you now, but Schubert Cardozo is definitely in a hurry to find out, or know at least, when the standings will be updated. And therefore we had to say to him, well, keep it cool, focus on the racing, because we will definitely update you after all the racing is done. And that's how quick we try to be here at SimRacing International. But alas, I've walked away of it and let my mouth run me dry, as we now go 20 seconds away from going to the grid for one race today. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had the opportunity to quickly get a top up a liquid refreshment, go do so, because I'm going to take a quick sip of my water in preparation for us going to the grid. So I suspect this is going to be a race that's going to leave us speechless for all the right reasons here from Donington Park. And so, ladies and gentlemen, well, water complete in terms of being sipped. We now make our way to the grid for our final race of the season. It is time for round number 10 of season 12. It's time to go 60 minutes of racing here at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. And as our drivers do, this is how they'll all line up. And as we can see, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, the third place man in the Pro Championship, while the contenders for Samantha Tan Racing, he takes pole position on a 25.509. Joining the front row of the grid, Ashley Coupland for Relentless Racing, one of his best qualifying points of the season. And that's come out of nowhere, but to be fair, he's absolutely put a brilliant lap together, and could he become kingmaker today? Richard Simnor starts third for DCW Racing Blue, knowing he needs first or second to guarantee the crown, otherwise it'll be up to where everyone finishes. Well, he starts third today. Leon Seeley joins him that second row. The man who he saw as his master for the Corvette, but has the apprentice now become the master? We'll have to wait and see, because the Samantha Tan Racing driver will be very eager to make sure that Simnor stays behind him. Andy Jones starts fifth there for DCW Racing Blue, at the highest he's qualified this season. He could help Simnor out potentially, with Raz Harper starting sixth for DDK with RaceStatBot.com. Brandon Dyer, seventh on the grid for Altitude 3M Esports. Not the qualifying points he wanted. He's got work to do ahead of Ben Woodgate for Inter-Racing Team. Joris Petersveen completes the run of pros to ninth place there, ahead of Jared Love for DDK with RaceStatBot.com. And he is your pole sitter in the Interclass. Now starting 11th, Schubert Cardozo for Inter-Racing Team, ahead of Corey Price for Darkwing Racing. On row at number 7, it is going to be Bobby Moss of the SimRacing Collective Esports, ahead of Carl Roy for Access SimSport with SimWorks. Elliot Court begins as 15th for DDK with RaceStatBot.com, ahead of Adam Lynch, your club pole sitter there, the privateer. Bradley Setters begins the round 17th for Relentless Racing, ahead of Mark Collicott for DCW Racing Blue with an impressive full place in Interclass. Then it's an all-Inter 10th row to complete your top 20, with Martin Kenyon for Clark St James with Dexterous Motorsports being joined by his teammate of Ross Young. Outside the top 20, 21st, it's Sam Hockley ahead of Brad Pickett for Clark St James with Dexterous Motorsports. And then the Alfred Kirsten started 23rd for Simstrap by Glass Step Racing, ahead of Thomas Weston, the privateer. 25th, it's none other Jack Charles ahead of Philip Harris. And then we will see none other than Christopher Petty ahead of Rob Gregg, with John Button and Eddie Theobald together, and there will be Martin Brandon ahead of James Fraser, with none other than what will be Adam Smith completing your 33-car starting order. But ladies and gentlemen, we've had to quickly whistle stop our way through the grid, because of the final time this season we're about to go away, and it is over to Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, who goes green for 60 minutes of racing action. It's already drama before they've even got across the finish line, and that's a DDK racing car round. Two cars go around in fact there, and oh my goodness, and a further car goes round, and as they do, well, that's going to be, I think, Leon Seeley being... No, that's Stuart Cardozo being ejected out. My good lord. And meanwhile, we've got drama off at turn number 1 as well. Seeley and Andy Jones. Leon Seeley rejoined in there, but it's all happened before we've even really got going. Well, as a result, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis leads the field through the old hairpin, and well, Richardson, Ashley Cooper and Brandon Dyer follow behind, and Brandon Dyer has already halved his gap to the leader. He's got all the way from 7th to 4th place. Meanwhile, Raz Harper, Eurospeed's and Corey Price follow suit, with Ben Wood going there, but Brandon Dyer dives up the inside of Ashley Coutland, and well, he's proven that qualifying performance was not representative of the pace he's brought here today. But here comes Coutland, look up the inside, going into Coppice Bend. It's going to be too wide on entry, and Coutland back there, but remember, on a tighter exit line, you can't get the throttle down as easily when there's a car on your outside, and once they make the one down, Brandon Dyer tucks back in, but meanwhile, behind, Kyle Roy, well, the way this race has started, he's up into the lead of the interclass with Bobby Moss not too far behind. Where is Jared Love? And in fact, Jared Love's in the pit lane. It wasn't Elliot Court who got caught out, it was Jared Love. I do apologise there for the misinformation, but what it means is suddenly the Inter Championship is on. But Kyle Roy having to go defensive as best he can as Raz Harper tries to go around the outside of him here, and he gets caught up behind Corey Price with Bobby Moss knowing now he needs to get ahead of Kyle Roy. He needs to attack him as quickly as he can, because if he take the lead of this could come to him. Remember, Jared Love needs 5th or higher. If he finishes 6th and Bobby Moss takes the win, it is Bobby Moss's crown. So right now we've got a very unique story in that class. But meanwhile, Raz Harper into the pit lane. I suspect damage to the DDK RaceStatBot.com driver's car, and that's going to see him brought down the order. But meanwhile, in the rear of the picture, that's going to be Sam Hockley enjoying some fighting as they roll the way through the corners. And as they do so, all these drivers right now definitely push each other as much as humanly possible as they come through. But Hockley trying to defend here versus Thomas Weston, and then Martin Kane and Mark Collicott together. But they go nose to tail down for Hollywood in towards the crater curves, and then the old hairpin again. You can see Thomas Weston right now trying to look for the switchback here, using all the road, but in the end has to take a little bit of liberal use of the road track limit in order to stay behind. But he doesn't pick up a slowdown there. It'll be a brief off track, but he doesn't gain a positional advantage of Sam Hockley. He still has to stay behind. We will get a replay of what happened very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, at the start. There's multiple incidents, a lot of drama before we even went racing, and then by the end of turn 1, there was even more drama to come. But what we can see, not a dramatic start in the club class, because Adam Lynch still controls the lead, and Jack Giles is down in at 16th place. Lynch is 11th at the moment. But foreground, your camera shot, Woodgate on the left, Roy on the right, and Kyle Roy tucks back in, but Woodgate has found his man and found his way through. But as I come charging on through, well, now it's been a poor run through the chicane, and suddenly here comes Roy looking around the outside. Can he do it? Meanwhile, Bobby Moss goes all in on the brakes as well, but you can see there what Woodgate's trying to do. He parks it on the apex and essentially says to Roy, you're not switching back on me. And Bobby Moss, because he's only got the inside to go to at that point, trying to find his way past Roy, he doesn't get an advantage, but he gets the run here, goes to turn in, and Kyle Roy gets his elbows out there, and Moss is made to go wider at the final corner, and as he makes his way down towards and turn 1 once more. Well, Bobby Moss is still attacking. Here he goes looking around the outside. The SimRacing Collective driver here being encouraged on by the team on the pit wall. He's pushing as hard as he possibly can for this. And well, meanwhile, Jared Love all the way down in 10th place in the interclass at the moment. But Moss needs that lead. He can finish second, but then Sonny, Jared Love doesn't have to take anywhere near as many places by comparison. I think 7th or higher would do it for Love at that point. So that's why there's that big question mark of where they exactly finish and what it does. But meanwhile, we look to Richard Simnor and Ashley Coutland together as Milton Tomlinson-Dennis is absconding. But remember, for Simnor, should he finish second to Tomlinson-Dennis winning and Brandon Dyer is behind Simnor, he still will be safe, because Simnor only needs second in order to take the crown. He cannot be caught if he finishes second by either driver, as Coutland gets ready to attack. And well, Richard Simnor right now knowing he's in the fight for his championship life, albeit it's not the fight for the win, it's the fight for second. But it's so much more than just a race win on the cards here today. Thomas Weston fighting with Sam Hockley. He has found his way past at Coppice Bend. Going defensive as Hockley tries to go around the outside and switches back to the inside. So a little bit of a determined defence there for Thomas Weston. And make sure the move does not happen. Meanwhile, further back in the club class, Philip Harris, James Fraser. They go nose to tail. The Eurotitle endurance driver going on the offence. And well, pleased to see that Adam Smith is 3 seconds behind. So Smith did make it onto the grid here today in the end, which is lovely to see. Came straight from his meeting to the car. And we started all the way from the back of the field as Philip Harris up the inside there versus James Fraser. And that's going to be 6th place there in the club class for now. Smooth move, a classic move being made. But meanwhile, as we go on to lap number 4, we take a look back in time, ladies and gentlemen, to what exactly happened right at the start of the race. And here we go for a trip back in time. So, can we look to the blimp camera perhaps? And in particular, we need to focus it on Jared Love, and we do. The camera comes down on him. So, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis got the signal to go green, as he did so. There's a big checkup. Oh, goodness me. So, Jared Love got caught out there, but it was the cars behind that resulted in the contact. Now, who was that with Jared Love behind there? Was that Shiba Cardozo, I want to say? I might be wrong on that. I think it was. Well, Shiba Cardozo did not have a happy start either. So he went, suddenly discovered that Joris Petersveem had not gone. So he had to quickly pull the car to left, collected what was the car there of, I believe that was, oh, it wasn't Aston Martin before him. Couldn't quite see who it was. But then Shiba Cardozo got caught out, then contact with another driver. And well, this is what it looked like from behind Jared Love's car when they went racing. So it was, I believe that was Corey Price there in the Lamborghini who got caught out, not an Aston Martin. Indeed, Shiba Cardozo and Price both went at the same time, both tried to squeeze into a space that didn't exist, and Jared Love in the end just got turned for it. And unfortunately for the DDK with RaceStat.com driver, had to tow to pit lane immediately. But with that happening and Cardozo being chucked out of the running towards turn 1, we also had this. Whilst all that was happening behind, Andy Jones meanwhile battling here, and well, as he went 4 wide, became 3 wide there in a big squeeze. Oh, when he got pranged there onto the red gate curb, and well, the DCW Racing driver looms out there and the braking. Can we get an alternative camera angle of that? I think we can. And well, did he get pushed onto the curb or did he hit the curb high? Brandon Dyer was there, but Dyer broke. And in the end, oh, it was the contact with Raz Harper that turned him around the front of what was Leon Seeley in and collected both of them and put them both off the road. Seeley able to join a lot earlier, and Jones in with suspension damage had to tow to the pit lane. But we also had this for Brad Pickett, the Dexterous Motorsports for Clark St James coming down the hill with damage already. And in the end, the car struggling along. But Eddie Fearbold, well, he had some difficulty of his own. The club driver, who was looking quite quick, well, made his way up the hill towards Coppice Bend. As he did so, carried a lot of speed into the corner, hit the rear of Christopher Petty's car, and it sent the car spinning around and onto the grass there. For Fearbold, it was a difficult moment. And we also had this for Alfred Kirsten towards the end of lap 1. The Simstrack by Glass Step Racing driver made his way into the Goddard's S's as he came down into the braking zone on the inside. Well, that was a move being made there by Jack Charles. He was collected by Leon Seeley, and that's what sent him around there. The two came into contact, not saying it's Seeley's fault. However, it was a bit unfortunate for him. This is what it looked like on board Leon Seeley's car. And, well, I think Seeley here feeling as though that Kirsten was taking too long on the brake, and he saw the space, went all in for it from very far back. That was, in my personal opinion, a bit opportunistic. I think he was hoping that he'd be seen, but I think even from that far back, even the biggest first-class stamp, there was always going to be a bit of difficulty between the two drivers. Still, that was that, and with that, ladies and gents, we come back to your live racing. And as we do, well, still plenty more to come. And Ashley Copeland here, Brandon Dyer going nose out at the moment with Richard Simnor. But Simnor has lost Tomlinson-Dennis now to 2 seconds. And well, Simnor is queuing up Copeland and Dyer behind him. So he's holding firm, going as defensive possibly can at the moment. Meanwhile, we do have a big battle for third place in club. Christopher Petty, even Jordan Butler and Rob Gregg at bay with Elliot Court having caught up to this. No pun intended on his surname there, and that's just simply my English lexicon. And we'll try to look for that move. But meanwhile, going through Coppice, it's Dyer and Copeland together. Side by side they go. Elbow once, elbow twice. They keep touching here. Is this Touring Car GT3 racing? Well, right now I can't tell. What I can tell you is that both of them want to get ahead of the other to challenge Richard Simnor. But Brandon Dyer in particular, he needs to get ahead of Ashley Copeland right now. Copeland can just enjoy himself as much as possible. Obviously, he won't make any friends if he does end up costing Brandon Dyer the championship by simply being the driver who fought him hard. But understandably, Copeland's got his own aspirations here, which is to try and take a podium here today, if not the race win. And well, you can't deny him that as they make the way up the hill in towards the corner. But Brandon Dyer dives up the inside there. What a switchback! And in the end, that was all or nothing there. That was, I'm either going to make it to the corner or we're both going to the pit lane. And Ashley Copeland saw it coming the last moment and thought, no, I'm not turning into that. That would be considered moving under braking. Well, as they come into red gate corner, Copeland tries to do his own back on Brandon Dyer. But what a move there. That's a candidate for move of the season right there from Brandon Dyer. That's how much this means to him right now. And the two cars in front of him are the two cars he needs to beat. Simnor first, Tomlinson-Dennis second, but remember, Simnor takes second and Dyer wins. It's still Richard Simnor's trophy, so that is why Brandon Dyer is going to get the move on, and he'll want to very quickly pass Simnor and bring him into the pack of Copeland and Joris Petersveem. And Veem has caught up, as has Corey Price. They're all getting together now. This fighting really has cost them a lot of time, but how long will it cost them later on? We will see, as we do look to Kyle Roy, who has dropped Bobby Moss. was pushing quite hard earlier on, but now Moss has lost out a little bit. Well, Jared Love, the best part of 26.5 seconds behind Alfred Kirsten, all the way to the back of the field. Right now for Jared, the DDKRaceStatBot.com driver, understandably, just taking it one lap at a time here. Anything can happen before this is over. He's got 50 minutes to go. He cannot mentally give up right now. These are the moments where a champion is decided. He's got to treat this as if it is a qualifying session. Now, he's got to just pump those laps in time and time again. But meanwhile, free wide here, it's not likely for Martin Kenyon as he looks up the inside of Bradley Setters and what is now Mark Collicott. Makes a bit of contact there, bit elbows out from Kenyon, but he seems to get away with it. And Collicott in turn now, not too happy, flashes headlights there. Setters tucks it behind, but Kenyon does move into third place in the Interclass, although with quite a forceful move. And he's on the back of Bobby Moss as meanwhile, Bradley Setters goes very wide there coming out of Goddard. And suddenly that is going to be Lynch and also Samba Hockley coming through. Hockley's going to try it here, looking around the outside. Is it going to work? The answer is yes, no, yes it will. In fact, the Chaps Motorsport driver goes around the outside, and that move being done as quick as that, as Thomas Weston follows. But as we say hello to Acto Warrior, who's tuning on Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, and indeed right now the man who's leading this race. We'll come back to it in due course. We've got a few battles out there at the moment, but I hope you're doing well, Acto Warrior, and Acto Warrior, I should say that. Let's get that in the right order, and I hope you enjoyed the racing thus far. But Elliott Court on the back of Jordan Butler. Another driver who's got to try and pick his way past here as they make the way up the hill. But right now, is he going to be able to make the move here in towards McLean's? The answer is going to be no, just a bit too far back, and instead has to just keep trying to build that momentum. But Tomlinson-Dennis leading as he heads down towards Melbourne, and then you can see Richard Simnor 2.5 seconds behind. Simnor right now lapping a tenth slower, but he has broken away from Kootland and Brandon Dyer. And in fact, Kootland's got back ahead of Brandon Dyer after Brandon Dyer's had a little bit of an off, so that explains the story there. And well, as they make their way back up the rise, we're now Brandon Dyer getting back ahead as Kootland overcooked the braking zone. He tries to do what Dyer did to him on the previous lap, and Corey Price does exactly what Brandon Dyer did to Kootland, diving up the inside of Peters V. My goodness, these pro drivers right now, well, they've got the fire under them, no doubt about it. They are all fired up. I think they're all just here to make sure they take a podium, if not the win, if anything else. But right now, with all this fighting, it's going to see the leaders just pull away even more. We've right on board here, Joris Peters V trying to get his best result of the season at this rate, as he comes on down the hill, and as he does so, going through the crater curves at the moment, which perhaps a good idea to be a little bit further back than usual. So that way, if there's a bit of fighting between the drivers in front, he can build a lot of momentum. And in fact, poor run there. That is going to see Corey Price lose out on the exit of the old hairpin. So suddenly, Peters V will move up into 5th place. And now he's going to after Coupland and Brandon Dyer. But that goes to show you, once you run out of a bit of momentum and rhythm through one of the quarters of the opening portion of the lap, you suddenly lose a lot of momentum in the next few quarters as well and go wide. There's a very high risk that you pick up a slowdown penalty as well as an off track, and that does not help you at all. And well, it's not a slowdown for Price, but I think they just completely got it wrong coming out of the old hairpin and had to back off. And understand he lost the best part of around about 7 miles an hour going up the hill. But as they make their way through the S's behind Ben Woodgate, trying to get involved here for Interracing Team, but a bit too far back at the moment at least. As meanwhile, Leon Seeley all over the back of Philip Harris and Rob Gregg, who are fighting for 5th place in the club class. But Leon Seeley, the pro driver, just wants to get past them. Raz Harper catch up as well, and Harper with a car that's definitely picked up some damage earlier on. He's used this fast repair and he's getting ready to attack once again. But what a race it's been so far, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think it's going to be over by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I think we've still got a lot more to come, and I think there's a few more twists in the tail. But as we see Seeley up the inside of Harris, well, there, Philip Harris going a bit deeper. Seeley in the end trying to get that inside line together, but realising with that inside line, he can't get the power down anywhere near as early, and has to wait here as he now looks around the outside. But Harris holds his line. Leon Seeley goes to the switchback, but Christopher Petty, well, he has got Rob Gregg there. Petty's had a terrible run through the 2 hairpins. In fact, Rob Gregg's so close that he's got it for the move around the outside into Redgate. Can he get it done? Not quite. Petty holds on, but that can show you the fact that Christopher Petty, a bit of a poor lap, and suddenly he'll catch up as Leon Seeley goes wide and loses the place there to Raz Harper. But back to Petty and Gregg as they come down the hill too wide. It's going to be Gregg going wide. He's now going to have to defend here versus Harris. Going for the old hairpin, but Petty goes wide. It's 3 wide as they head up the hill, and Rob Gregg makes his way past. So Gregg does get it back in the end. He has to do it in such an unconventional way, but look at Raz Harper who tries to squeeze his way past them all. The pro driver here trying to go on a redemptive drive today, but Rob Gregg does take that 4th place in the club class at least now, with Harper picking up a slowdown for an off track at the old hairpin. And well, Philip Harris will be happy that he's passed Christopher Petty, but he won't be happy the fact he's lost out to Rob Gregg and all of that. well, definitely an interesting battle, but at the same time as well, well done by all of them to keep it clean. As they now make the way towards the S's here, you can see Leon Seeley glued to the back of none other than Harris's car, but can't find a way in at the moment. But back to Brandon Dyer. And still holding on to that third place. Actually, Coupland queuing up behind again. And Coupland still looking for that attack when he can. Albeit right now, Brandon Dyer is not giving it to him by any means as they roll the one out. And we're going down the hill again towards turn number 4. The LG3M Esports McLaren working hard. Well, tyre management might start to be a big factor here, given the fact they're pushing so hard and they're working each other so hard as well. Will they have the tyre life left towards the end? Because remembering the fact they can change tyres in the pit lane, they are done simultaneously with fuel, but normally it means only 1 or 2 tyres are changed. But when they're working this hard, I can imagine as much as the rear tyres will be taking the main brunt of the wear for a mid-engine rear drive car, particularly the left-hand side tyres will do so, giving us more right-handers and left-handers at this clockwise circuit. Well, under braking, with so much heavy braking going on, the front tyres, both left and right, will be feeling greater wear than usual. So Brandon Dyer's got to be careful of that, but Ashley Coulton may need to worry about it even more because we know that Lamborghini is a little bit heavier on its tyre degradation compared to the McLaren. But as they make their way through the S's this time, no change between the drivers. They stay as is. Meanwhile, Paddy Setzer still chasing after Thomas Western, but we must come back to Coupland as Brandon Dyer does have to give up some time gains there at the chicane, and that was for cutting the track limits. So Ashley Coulton will take that third place for now, with Brandon Dyer, Corey Price, and Joris Peters-Veem following suit. But from them, we've still got plenty more action going on further down the order. In fact, Leon Seeley has recently passed Rob Gregg, and well, that's been a change for overall position only. But one thing we do want to take a little bit of a look at is what exactly happened a bit earlier on between one of our drivers, and it was this for Eddie Fearbold. A bit off track, what happened to the privateer. So make his way through what was the Schwann's curve in towards McLean's. As he did so, came in quite hot, missed the apex and ran a little bit wide. So just pushing the track limits a bit too far there. Easy mistake to make. And we also did have a bit of a moment for what was Adam Smith all the way back on lap number 4. And this was Adam Smith, I believe, had a bit of a trip. Well, in fact, at Redgate Bend, he'd had it off. And what exactly happened to him, the Euro Tyson Endurance driver, I think we can get the earlier replay to explain. And it was, he made his way out the corner, so that was the off track there, essentially dipping the tyre slightly wide. So apologies, ladies and gents, we thought it was a lot worse than it was. Well, in fact, there it was. So he did go wide there, coming through Hollywood into Crater Curves. Well, we did expect that. I think he was just aware of the fact everyone was coming through, but we've also just had this drama for what is James Fraser. So this was Fraser making his way out of the S's, but the rear of the car let go. Oh, went into the barrier there. And well, James Fraser, that's a knock to his confidence, but he'll have to try and get himself back together when he can. And also, we've had a bit of drama for Leon Seeley and Philip Harris only just recently. So this was coming down the hill. Leon Seeley chasing after Harris at the time. And as they made their way through the corner, Harris lost the rear of the car and Seeley had no time to react. And for Leon Seeley, that has been a tow to pit lane. And for Philip Harris, he's carried on in a heavily wounded car, but both have lost out considerable places there. And, well, that's a shame for both there. For Leon Seeley, you've got to feel for him because after a dramatic start to the race, it's just been more drama coming his way and not happy drama at that. But meanwhile, we come back to live racing and, well, a quarter of the race complete. Still just over 2/3 to go. Corey Price attacking Joris Peters-Veem for 5th place as your leaders now starting to calm down a little bit. And Tomlinson-Dennis ahead of Simnor, and then it's Coulton, Dyer, Peters-Veem, Price and Woodgate are your leading 7 pros. Well, then you do come to your leading into drivers of Kyle Roy, and Bobby Moss has caught back up to him once again. So Moss is there or thereabouts, 4 tenths behind, and it's 2 seconds back to Martin Kenyon, who's got a fast charging Mark Collicott behind him. And we're bearing in mind, of course, that with regards to Mark Collicott's season, he has taken 1 third-place spot on the podium this season, his only podium in Inter. He would like to make it another one, see if he can take 2 podiums. He'd ideally like to even go higher on that podium if he can. And behind at the moment is Adam Lynch, the leader in the club class. And we're looking on course that 4th win, no doubt about it. And as things currently stand in club, it would be Adam Lynch who would take the crown. Meanwhile, in the Inter class, at the moment, it would be Bobby Moss who would take it, given that Jared Love is still down in 10th place in Inter and trying to recover his way into the race. As we have Mark Collicott there, going up the inside of Martin Kenyon, comes in a bit brazen, does make some contact there, but he does make sure not to push it too hard coming up the corner. I think that's Collicott giving the place back by lifting off the throttle a little bit, but he's got to be careful because, of course, if he lifts off too much, he's going to invite Adam Lynch to look up the inside. That's not the point. I do know Mark is a very fair racer out there, to be fair, for DCW Racing Blue, and he shows you that gentleman racer in him by just giving the place back immediately to Martin Kenyon. Kenyon. If he'd broken about 2 metres earlier, he would have got the move done. He wouldn't have made the contact. That was right on the limit, but unfortunately, on the tightrope, he slightly leaned to the right rather than left. He'd lent more into braking too late rather than braking just early enough. And well, that's why he's getting the place back to Kenyon, but he can still find a way back. As we look to Bobby Moss, we're right on board here with the SimRacing Tech for Esports Dryer, still attacking as much as he can. He wants to beat Kyle Roy, whilst right now he will know, or he may be able to guess, or the team may tell him, the SimRacing Collective Esports team will be out in full force here today. They will have multiple members on the pit wall spectating and giving him guidance, telling him where he needs to finish and also the strategy. But understanding right now, for Bobby, he will know every place will prove very invaluable and he'll want to try and grab them. Because if he does so, he makes life that little bit harder for Jared Love, who's on that huge recovery drive at the moment. But still 40 minutes and a final lap to go. And Moss still needs to see the finish line. They all do. But meanwhile, we've had a change. Martin Kenyon has been passed by Mark Collicott. And Sam Hockley has just squeezed ahead of Adam Lynch, who's given up the place there to him. And I think the club leader decided he doesn't want any role to play in amongst all the inter-drivers. That's a smart call there, given the fact he's absolutely safe. And the club class has spread out quite a bit, with Lynch ahead of Jack Giles and then Jordan Butler, but they're all 2 to 3 seconds apart from each other at the moment. And well, the racing has calmed down in club, as we do see this long conga line of inter and pro drives together with Adam Lynch in amongst it all. But as Elliot Court catches up to the back of it, he wants to pick his way past Ross Young, the 7th place inter, chasing after Thomas Weston. If he can do that, there'll be Weston, there'll be Bradley Setters, a pro here. He's running 8th in class at the moment. Here they come up towards turn of 1, and as they do, well, meanwhile, Bobby Masters made the move here, coming in towards Hollywood. He's going to go for it, and Kyle Roy backs out there before the crane occurs. He doesn't want to go too wide through there. I think worried about overheating the tyres, and also the fact when you go too wide through there, you've both got to be ready to completely back off. You cannot go full pace through those corners as much as you try, otherwise you're both going to the grass. But Moss has made that move happen. We will get a replay of it shortly to show you the full move, but it started at Redgate and it was made by the exit coming in towards Hollywood. But right now, Bobby Moss definitely making Simnor out of this race, into leading into class. Now, can he run away with it, or will Kyle Roy stay with him? So remember, he's had to use more fuel and tyre life in order to be able to make this move happen. Kyle Roy may be fuel saving by comparison, and fuel save even more now. We're simply sitting behind. Well, we'll have to wait and see, ladies and gents, as they come down towards the Melbourne hairpin. But as they head down under towards that corner, we head up and over to take a look back in the past as to how exactly the move was made. But not before we do get a replay of how Mark Collicott passed Martin Kenyon for 3rd in Inter. And, well, it was Kenyon sliding loose there, coming out of McLean's, and the Clark St James Dexterous Motorsports Lamborghini's having its first moment of oversteer today. And in the end, Collicott just sifted his way at the inside, a smooth move into cockpit, and got it done. And then we did see Sam Hockley have Adam Lynch go slightly wide, and Adam decided to pull over to the inside there and let Hockley go, knowing that he would really just be in the way. But then Bobby Moss made this brilliant move for the lead in class, and it was Kyle Roy who carried a bit too much speed and in the end had to fight with understeer there. You can see that was understeer to oversteer back to understeer very quickly for the Axis Simworks driver, and well, in the heat of the moment, that was Bobby Moss sneaking his way through, making a brilliant move happen. Well, we come back to live racing, and as we do, well, they continue to be at 6 tenths apart. Meanwhile, Collicott versus Kenyon, 4 tenths, so Hockley a further 7 behind. But coming up the hill and around, and right now this fighting definitely continues to be absolutely on the limit right now between these drivers. And as they come up the hill, you see in the rear of the picture there, Elliot Court trying to attack his way past Ross Young, goes up the inside here. Ross Young goes to turn in, but DDK Racestatbot.com driver making no error there, going all in and saying to Ross Young, look, if you turn in, we're both going to the steward's room and I'm going to be pointing the finger at you. That's one of those moves whereby Elliot using his pro experience to know he can dive in there, and so long as he's made it to the apex, which on the inside line he had, then Ross Young had to respect the fact he was there. And well, meanwhile, Jordan Butler there or thereabouts in 3rd place at the moment in club class, with Rob Gregg behind after all the chaos that unfolded earlier on. Well, the full tilt virtual motorsport driver with a slowdown penalty for track limits, we believe, at Coppitt's corner. He's going to give up some time, and Rob Gregg, who's 2 seconds behind, may actually close up as Butler intentionally goes a bit deep there at Melbourne. It will cost him about 7 tenths of a second, and that is going to hurt him a little bit as all the drivers continue their journeys. Unfortunately, we have had Martin Brandon involved in the incident only moments ago, and also further off track for James Fraser. We'll try and get a replay of those shortly. But as things currently stand, overall and in pro, it's Milton Tomlinson-Dennis who leads. Now, if you're sat there wondering what exactly does this mean in terms of the finishing positions, well, with Simnor in 2nd, Tomlinson-Dennis in 1st, and Dyer in 4th, it would be Richard Simnor who would win the championship by 16 points ahead of Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, who would finish 2nd, and Brandon Dyer would take 3rd place in the end on 660, so a further 18 adrift. So it does mean right now, whilst Milton Tomlinson-Dennis is doing everything right that he needs to do, he needs Richard Simnor to be forced down the order if he wants that crown. Simnor's doing everything absolutely what he needs to become your pro champion. And Brandon Dyer, after always fighting with Ashley Coupland, well, he's now lost out in that battle, at least for now, and he'll be hoping to try and get back into it a little bit later on. But meanwhile, in the Boymos and Jared Love situation, well, Jared Love is in 10th, Boymos is in 1st, and it would mean the championship would go the way of Bobby Moss. It would go his way by the best part of 28 points it currently stands. But still plenty of play. We're not expecting any safety cars. We don't have those allowed on this session. So therefore, this is all going to come down to who keeps it cool, calm, consistent, and delivers the laps all the way to the very end, ladies and gentlemen. And well, Donington Park, definitely one of those circuits right now can prove quite decisive. As King continues to chase after Collicott, and Sam Hockley now starting to feel a bit of burning pressure from Bradley Setters behind, as Jack Giles being passed there, already letting go past Raz Harper, who moves up into 18th place on a recovery drive after it went wrong right at the start. But meanwhile, it went a bit wrong for Martin Brandon only moments ago, but we're not going to cut to that just yet, because this is Christopher Petty being passed by Eddie Fearbold. And I get the feeling our 191 Privateer has got damage to that car, or there's something wrong with it, because he did not put up a fight there when normally he has been found to fight Fearbold quite firmly. So something's gone a bit wrong, and he's not in a happy place. Meanwhile, speaking of not happy places, Jordan Butler has got Rob Gregg closing up behind him, and well, the Moonshine's Racing Club driver absolutely pouring on the time and places as they make the way up the hill. This is the battle for third place in club, and Rob Gregg has really come back into this after slipping down the order. A couple of off tracks have been caught up in that huge fight earlier on. Well, now after John Butler was able to seize the position and seize the day, well, suddenly the day's coming back to Rob Gregg with all of this. Interesting to see which way this goes from this point onwards, as right now these drivers definitely feeling the heat and feeling the pressure with them. Going through the SS sequence, the 195 Britain right now feeling safe enough to take his lines normally. Understandably, he's not going to be feeling too happy with the way this is going, and the risk is only increasing. He comes out the corner. Well, the full tilt virtual motorsport driver just not quite happy with low speed traction, but to be fair, we do know that the Porsche, the strongest on the low speed traction, first and second gear, is where it's absolute king when it comes out of corners such as hairpins and also corners like Redgate, whereas meanwhile the Mercedes, a little bit more nuanced for medium and high speed corners, but also for straight line performance. As Greg getting closer and closer now as he heads in towards turn number 1. Well, Butler going defensive there. Did he really need to? Well, the answer is no, but what this does mean is Rob Gregg is going to have a much bigger run now coming at the corner. Now, will he brave it to the inside of the Craner curves? He almost goes for it, but decides not to at the last moment. The Moonshine's Racing Club driver really now starting to build up the pressure. He wants to give this one good go, and in doing so, could he then run away with it? He seems to have the pace in hand to do so. John Butler definitely struggling at the moment. And in terms of our weather for today, we do have a track temperature of 36 degrees centigrade, so it's a bit of a warmer circuit than we normally would have this season, or have normally seen, and that might be definitely hurting tyre wear for some drivers. And John Butler makes a complete ham sandwich there out of Coppice Bend, and as he does so, going so tight to the apex curb. Well, right now Rob Gregg getting ready to attack, but the good news for John Butler is because he took such an unconventional line, well, Rob in the end didn't realise what was going on, had to actually back off rather than go on the attack. And it's worked out this time, as meanwhile, off camera, we have got a black flag for Raz Harper, and that is a drive-through penalty for instant points. Now, that's another thing we haven't really talked about so far today, is the risk of drive-through penalties here. They are high, as Mark Collicott goes up the inside of Martin Brandon, falls the lap down, and Martin King follows on through, and Sam Hockley will do so shortly, with Bradley Setters being brought in tow. But the reason why drive-through penalties could be a deciding factor is the Donington Park circuit does have some very strict track limits, but this is also one of those circuits, given the flow and nature, you make one small mistake and you're very likely to go off track and pick off and off track. And well, you get a drive-through penalty here. It's not the longest pit lane in the world, but understandably, it's still going to be costing you the best part of around about 26 seconds end-to-end driving through that pit lane on the limiter. Now, that could definitely hurt a driver's aspirations, as we do see Sam Hockley in the end carving about the inside of Martin Brandon, and now Bradley Setters will try to follow him through, as Brandon's going to try and come across there, but when you see the relentless racing Mercedes has just got alongside, and Brandon will back out. He will not fight that. But as the fight between what is Setters and Hockley continues in the overall positions only. Well, we did have 33 starters this race, but we have lost along the way. Schubert Cardozo, Andy Jones, Brad Pickett and Leon Seeley. We still do have 29 runners, and Jared Love still giving it everything here as he runs wide coming through the old hairpin. Well, he'll know how many times he can afford to do that, but right now this man just doing everything he can. He is lapping in the mid-26s. To put you in perspective, that's the same pace as Bobby Moss and Kyle Roy, but he's working hard for it. As meanwhile, where's Mark Collicott gone? Well, Collicott's coming to the pit lane, in fact, and suddenly Sam Hockley takes third place there in the interclass. Well, Collicott's coming on strategy. Well, I think Martin Kenyon's made a mistake. Alternatively, he's been caught out by Collicott coming into the pits. Well, we'll have to find out shortly. As now Setters looking for an opportunity here. We'll have to come back to that and find out what exactly happened. But definitely a bit of an intriguing moment there. We weren't expecting Hockley to come through. Oh, goodness me, it's Bradley Setters. Gets it on coming down the old hairpin. Car goes wide, hits the exit curb, and he loses front bumper for it, and the splitter's damaged as well. And the relentless racing driver there going straight on. And well, a huge bit of drama for him, and Sonny was looking to be a race that was going good, has now gone a little bit worse off. But he hasn't lost any pro positions, he's only lost overall places, but he's lost a lot of progress. But as he tries to rebuild that progress, we regress back in time to find out what exactly happened between Kenyon and Collicott. So this was right at the end of lap 20, only moments to go, and into the hairpin they went. And as they did so, I suspect Collicott's going to come into the pit lane. There was contact between the two of them, and Collicott, I think, wanted to come into the pit lane, and Kenyon on the inside. So in the end, Collicott didn't make it a clean run into the pits, and Kenyon contributed to that, but a bit of a misunderstanding between the two of them, and that's how Sam Hockley just picked up the pieces. But then we continue with the replay, because we had this of Bradley Setters. He made his way down, and as he made his way down the hill, what happened to the relentless racing drivers? We get the on board from his perspective into the braking zone for the old hairpin. Came on through and actually tapped the rear of Kenyon's car, so there was contact, and it took the front bumper off of Setters' car and sent him to the grass. Well, Martin Kenyon definitely was, as was Bradley Setters, but cars in the pit lane. Setters in for repair work to have that front bumper reattached. They've already done that. They put a new one on, in fact. They haven't gone and salvaged it from circuit side. And meanwhile, still plenty more pit stops to come between drivers. But as we do see Adam Lynch under pressure from Thomas Weston, well, this is a pressure for overall position only. However, we do have the gap for second place between Simnor and Coupland coming down. It's now down to 6 tenths. Ashley Coupland last lap, a 25.9, the fastest lap that anybody's set so far here today at Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, and it's the only 25 we've seen. So Coupland is now on a bit of a mission. It could mean he's coming into the pit shortly, and therefore he's trying to get the last out of the fuel tank he can and out of the car. He goes to a refueled car and also some fresher tyres, which he'll look to attack with. But Lynch versus Weston still staying in the hands of Adam Lynch now, but Thomas Weston getting closer and closer as we ride on board, looking down over the front of the 277 McLaren, goes up the inside here, and Adam Lynch gives him the space. With Thomas Weston, that tight line will get it done in the end. Lynch does not fight it, but what it does mean is that Adam Lynch now has nobody between himself and second place club driver, his main rival for the championship course, Jack Giles. But understandably, Jack Giles is still 10 seconds behind. Has got a lot of work to do for Euro Tyson Endurance, but with this result, plus currently where his teammates are, well, it'll be interesting to see where exactly the team's championship will go. And, well, it may not be second place for Euro Tyson Endurance or DDK Racing at this point, given both teams have a bit of difficulty so far today. But we don't know how the Masters results are going, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, we would bring you up to speed on that story as well. But as Ross Young comes into the pit lane for his scheduled pit stop, car up on the jacks there, there'll be at least one tyre being changed, if not two. Well, he's definitely deciding to. Well, he's changed one tyre, it's now off the jacks immediately, and fuel going in. I suspect that will be the rear left tyre being replaced. And whereas Harper and Eddie Fearbold are close together, but Harper making his way past Fearbold going to turn one, and well, right now back up into 16th place. Alas, we now come back to the battle for second place. We talked about it only moments ago. And the DCW Racing Blue 342 Corvette of Richard Simnor. Right now, Ashley Coupland behind. And Coupland has really closed that gap down. But it seemed to only be for a lap he could maintain that pace. Because suddenly, now that lap, it was a 26.32 for Simnor. And going to a 26.24, in fact. Coupland a 26.29. So therefore, Simnor responding and Coupland not quite able to continue pounding out the pace. As Milton Tomlinson-Dennis says, well, if Ashley Coupland can do a 25.9, I can do a 25.8 as he sets the new fastest lap of the race on a 25.88 to nearest 100th. An impressive lap there from Tomlinson-Dennis, and will continue to build that gap as much as he possibly can. Now, understandably, for him, all he can focus about is leading the race as best he can, as Jordan Butler, dives at the inside of Rob Gregg. and trying to take there what is third place back in the club class, but these two continue to fight each other right now. And well, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a pit stop out of one of them shortly, but who will go to the pits if either? Contact between the two coming out of Gollards, and in the end both drivers carry on here. And well, Jordan Butler, Rob Gregg side by side going down the start finish straight. Oh, and he comes across as Butler. It's contact with Gregg, and the two of them go to the barrier. Gregg's car rolls across the road, but thankfully not collected by anybody else, and both cars in drama there. And suddenly Eddie Theobald moves back into third in the club class. The priority's got Krista Petty for close company, and we'll get a replay of what happened between Butler and Gregg there very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, because I think that was definitely an instant that may be a little bit contentious, and I think there might be words between the two of them after the race. But as Eddie Theobald continues his way forward, we do have the replay footage of the Butler-Gregg incident, and here we go back in time. So they began battling through the last couple of quarters, and we catch it at the midway point going in towards Goddard's. As they came on out, well, Butler on the inside there, understeer a little bit wide, brief tap to Gregg, but nothing major out of it. Now coming down the start for this straight, who came towards whom? And it looks as though it might be 6 of one and half a dozen the other, as the UK saying goes, which is both drivers there seem to come to the middle of the road, and well, it unfortunately has led to that instance. Jordan Butler able to park on the pit lane exit and be off on the runoff area. Meanwhile, it was a recovery from the grass there for none other than Rob Gregg, but unfortunately for Gregg, more damage to the car by comparison. So, nightmare moment for both drivers, and well, as they carry on, well, Eddie Theobald, he'll just be pleased with the way this one has gone, no doubt about it, in the fact that he's been able to pick up those places whilst avoiding the drama around him. And there is an art to that, of course, understanding not getting involved in other drivers' drama, as he makes his way on to his 25th tour of the circuit under race conditions. But meanwhile, almost coming to the end of that 25th tour, race leader Tomlinson-Dennis, his last lap a 25.67. He's putting the hammer down right now. Cooten a 25.84, Simnor 26.10. They're all setting personal best, but Tomlinson-Dennis really putting out the hammer. And well, when will he come into the pit lane? Does he come in now, given the amount of traffic he's got in front of him? And remember, for Tomlinson-Dennis, he has been in these situations before where he has been up front, then he's found traffic, and it hasn't always worked out. So the SimRacing Racing driver needs to be calm and cautious here as he comes on through Redgate Corner, because he won't want this lead scuppered, particularly if there's anything that happens to Simnor later on. If Brandon Dyer does not improve his position, then suddenly it could be Tomlinson-Dennis' championship and in 4th win of the season, and definitely a very odd season. It'll be bookended by wins. And as he catches up to the back here of Ross Young, flashes headlights up into Schwann's, then towards McLean's they go, looking around the outside. But remember, the requirement is on the lead lap driver to make the move happen, and meanwhile it is the lap down driver to facilitate the pass when it begins. They are not expected under blue flags to step aside, although they can do if they want to. And they're expected to just hold their racing lines. Mark Collicott, meanwhile, being passed by Elliot Core, and as a result of being slightly offline coming for the S's, lets the place go to Bradley Setters. But remember, for Collicott, he right now is in a strategic battle with none other than Sam Hockley, given the drama that came to Martin Kenyon. And well, Martin Kenyon out this race in the pit lane, the car not going anywhere due to damage it's picked up. So Collicott right now hoping that this undercut strategy is going to safely bring him back into third, although I don't think he'll be aware of what's happened to Martin Kenyon unless the team have told him at DCW Racing Blue. Otherwise it might be a bit of a surprise third place when he comes to the end of the race and sees all the strategy is complete. As he tries to bring it all to a close. Meanwhile, we do come back to James Fraser, still out there at the moment, still putting in the laps, and we're remembering he pitted on lap 18. Well, he is one of the lowest placed drivers at the moment who has taken the strategic pit stop, but he could still yet gain a few club places before the day is done. We've seen a car that's had to receive quite some significant repair work to it, given the way the open laps went. The Moonshiners Racing Club driver not giving up here, and well, his first target will be Martin Brandon, who is 42 seconds away. And Brandon has taken the second pit stop. He had one earlier on, but he has visited the pits since then, and actually since what's with Simnor try. In fact, I think he started from the pit lane, and we made his way on out. And yes, he did. He started from the pit lane. Philip Harris also started from the pit lane. So Brandon's had his one strategic stop and is safe from Fraser to the tune of 42 seconds. But with the laps running down, and we're almost 2/3 of the way through the race, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, your leader 5 seconds clear of this man, Richard Simnor, who is holding a 1 second gap to Ashley Coupland. But is that 1 second gap because he's got the pace to match him, or is it because Ashley Coupland is just deciding to play him at his own game of pace? But hold up, we've got some drama for your club leader. Adam Lynch has had a spin at the old hairpin, and look who's coming up behind gradually. There he is, Jack Giles. That gap of 10 seconds has suddenly been brought down considerably. It's down to 3.5 seconds by the time he gets to McLean's, and the Eurotyson Endurance Drive will be believing right now, whilst he may not be able to steal the crown away from Lynch unless Lynch retires in this race, well, he can still steal away that win and make sure Adam doesn't take home his 4th win of the season. But into the pit from 2nd place, Richard Simnor for DCW Racing Blue. He calls it first, and following him in, Joris Petersveem and Corey Price. But Ashley Coupland stays out, Tomlinson-Dennis stays out, Brandon Dyer stays out, so does Ben Woodgate. So it's a split of strategies here, but I think some drives, they push the fuel tanks quite hard, and therefore they've got to come in a little bit earlier than planned. And understandably, you want to go as long as you can because it'll be a lighter car for the 2nd stint. But as well as that, of course, the fuel tank will say we can't go any further at some point. Simnor leaves the pit lane, and as he does, 17.4 seconds stationary stop. Joris Petersveem, 16.7. Corey Price, 16.9. So therefore, you would imagine that Richard Simnor has had to take a bit of extra fuel on, and that's why he's not been able to do an extra lap. It may be just because of how hard he's had to work his car. So suddenly, does that mean Ashley Coupland maybe had to pull off an upset here? Could he perform at the overcut successfully and come out ahead of Simnor? And suddenly, 3rd place of Simnor would not look anywhere near as positive as at 2nd place. And should he take 3rd, well, it would mean he would still be your champion based on things currently stand, because Tomlinson-Dennis with the win to Simnor's 3rd would not be enough, and Brandon Dyer would end up being at 3rd place in the championship. So Simnor does have that little bit of a breather if he's aware of it mathematically, which is he can afford to finish 3rd to Tomlinson-Dennis winning, so long as he makes sure that Brandon Dyer does not get ahead of him. And Tomlinson-Dennis is into the pit lane, so he comes in a lap later. Ashley Coupland is in as well in the rear of your picture. What about Brandon Dyer? No, Brandon goes another lap. The Altitude 3M Esports McLaren has got the fuel to keep going. Well, could this turn the entire race on its head? Because Simnor is not far away. He's heading through Melbourne at the moment. As we look to your blimp, your Goodyear camera. That's the Goodyear blimp there, as I amalgamate the words together, so call it the good blimp camera, as they make their way in towards turn number 12. Well, right now, where is Tomlinson-Dennis? He's almost at the end of the pit lane. He had a 5-second lead, so surely he's going to be safe as he comes on out there just ahead of Jared Love. But meanwhile, Ashley Coupland heads on out. Simnor heading down the straight. It's going to be close between the two of them, but who's it going to be? Simnor does get back ahead, and Ashley Coupland in the end does not nail it in the pit lane. In fact, he was 1.5 seconds longer than Simnor end to end, even though he had the faster pit stop by half a second. Coupland getting called out of the pits, it would seem. And the Relentless Racing team have not done it right, and therefore the 363 driver right now, he's lost out. Well, he's got to attack once again, but meanwhile Woodgate versus Petersveem, 2 wide there. Corey Price on the back of it. Well, they're practically even. The difference of 1 lap in strategy has brought them all together. Woodgate's going to get on through, and now here comes Corey Price looking for the potential move, and as he heads up the hill, we're hearing there's been drama for Kyle Roy. We'll come to that shortly, and for Kyle Roy things gone a bit backwards, but meanwhile Price looking forwards here on the inside of McLean. Joris Petersveem still on the outside, not giving in, refusing to give up as they roar the way into Coppice Bend. Petersveem trying to break him around the outside. Contact between the two of them. Price elbows Petersveem slightly wide, but I think both drivers, they're trying to crowd each other as much as possible, and Corey Price will make that move happen in the end with some elbows out racing, and Petersveem has to back off. But meanwhile, Brandon Dyer into the pit lane. Now we are expecting that Tomlinson-Dennis will clear him, and given he is currently making his way through the final corner, and we're coming down the hill, the Samantha Town racing driver will be back into lead most likely. But what about Simnor? Dyer is leaving his pit box right now as Tomlinson-Dennis comes through. There is Brandon Dyer. We look to the forward-facing camera down towards turn number 1. There is Simnor. Dyer build himself up to speed. I think Simnor's going to come out side by side with him. Yes, he is. He's on the inside. Simnor returns to 2nd place, but Brandon Dyer with a huge overcut. He has saved the grand total of 2.3 seconds in the pit lane compared to Simnor by going 2 laps longer. Brandon Dyer up into 3rd. The fight is on right now. Dyer attacking Simnor. But remember, if Brandon Dyer finishes in 2nd place and Simnor finishes 3rd, it is still Simnor's championship, even with Tomlinson-Dennis to win. So right now, for Brandon Dyer, he's got to get past Simnor, and then he's got to chase down Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, which is going to be a huge task. We've got 17 minutes left. We've got 7.5 seconds between Dyer and what is these two battling. So between between Tomlinson-Dennis and these two battling, I should say. And right now, for Brandon Dyer, this race, whilst it's looking good, it needs to look a lot better than this. As we do say hello there to Martin Kenyon in the YouTube chat, says that was going well until it wasn't. And indeed, it's very unfortunate for you, Martin, given you were definitely chasing a third place in the interclass state, if not higher. And well, commiserations to you, good sir, but happy to have you tuning in right now. But what does this do for the race? Well, of course, understandably, with Kenyon's retirement from the race and for Kyle Roy, who we've had some drama for, well, Jared Love has gained another position as a result. And in fact, we give you a quick replay, ladies and gentlemen, to explain what happened to Roy. And this was Kyle Roy make his way out of the S's and down towards Melbourne. So onto the brakes he went. Not a normal place to make a mistake by yourself. Came through the corner and had to pull the car to left. The Access Sport Simworks driver just parking up and his race over. There must be a technical issue of some description. So that explains it. And well, meanwhile, Jared Love making more moves. And this was Love passing Jordan Butler for position, I believe. And well, he was following behind none other than the car of Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, and just essentially forced himself up the inside there. Jordan Butler had already given so much space, and well, Jared Love continued to give the chase. But drama then for Kyle Roy, and this completely changes the outlook of the Inter Championship, or does it? Because with Jared Love now up into 7th place currently, well, it is still Bobby Moss's. Should he finish in 6th, he would still lose out. It will be Bobby Moss's. He needs 5th or higher as Jared Love right now. So he's got to chase down Alfred Kirsten. Then he's got to try and find a way to close the gap to Ross Young. But the gap from Love to Kirsten right now is only a grand total of 3 seconds. Then it is a further 15 seconds to Ross Young. That's going to be a lot to do with 15 minutes. But then again, could we see a late twist in the tail? We'll have to find out. As meanwhile, Bobby Moss fully in control here of the interclass on the road, and he's doing everything he needs to at the moment, which is just simply lead the race. If he does that, then everything can be his, so long as Jared Love doesn't get the result needed to upset and prevent him from becoming champion. So that's what Moss has got to do right now. He's just got to have his faith. He's doing everything right. It's up to his rival now to see whether he can scupper his chances or not as he comes through the hairpin. But looking back to Eddie Theobald fighting here with Christopher Petty for 3rd place in the club class, and Petty has found his way ahead. Now, in terms of how he's found his way ahead, we believe it was on strategy that he got it done. He had a much shorter pit stop by comparison, and that's enabled him to get ahead of Theobald. But Theobald coming back at him now for that final spot on the club podium today. But will he be able to get his way back there? We will see. There's still 14 minutes and a final lap to go. And well, given the fact that Jack Giles is a sizable 14 seconds up the road, this will be the last bit of action we'll see for the club podium, I suspect. As Theobald looks once, does he look twice? Not quite. And waits his turn instead and sits behind. As Christopher Petty goes a bit deep through the corner. Difference to 2 lines there, but both driving slightly offline. Theobald with a better exit. He gets a bit too close for comfort. Then onto the brakes he goes, and he does so. The 152 driver sits behind as Petty rolls down the hill. And, well, Theobald right now definitely looking to be the quicker of the 2 drivers, looking to be the slightly smoother of the 2, it could be said. But Petty doing everything well to hold on, but he's still got to hold on for quite a few more laps. But from then, we come back up to Coutland, Woodgate and Price. And in terms of how the trio left the pit lane, many of you may be wondering, well, of course, there's an absolutely crazy battle between them, and we will be getting that replay very shortly, but not before we do see Corey Price and Ben Woodgate go toe-to-toe here. The Darkwing Racing Lamborghini in the Inter-Racing team colours, trying to battle the Inter-Racing team McLaren, and in the end, can't find a way through as we've had a disqualification from the race for James Fraser due to instant points, and a poor run there through Redgate. He's going to see Woodgate on the outside now through Hollywood. Into Craner they go. 2 wide down the hill, and Corey Price here on the inside. He'll get this covered off very smoothly, and for Price, that is an absolute textbook move being made up into this place in the pro class. Woodgate and Peters being still there, and will we see a counter-attack here in towards McLean's? Not quite. It may come on the run all the way up towards the S's, albeit your SP team right now staying close here, getting ready to attack in his BMW. He is the odd one out in terms of drivetrain, front engine rear wheel drive versus mid engine rear wheel drive for the 2 cars in front, and therefore has to approach these corners a bit differently, but he carries more speed on the straights by comparison, given the BOP as they come onto the anchors. And Peters Veem right now just stuck there, not quite able to find a way in, at least this time. But it was plenty of excitement when they did all leave the pit lane, and this was back on lap 28. So, as we did see Corey Price lose out to Peters V, meanwhile, Ben Woodgate was making his way on around at that point. So, it was these two drivers together, Peters V coming out ahead of Price, but then a lap later, on lap 29, we had this unfold. And it was, of course, none other than Woodgate at the time, coming out ahead of the pair of them. And Price and Peters V fight each other hard for position, and Price diving up the inside there to make that move happen. Peters V wasn't going to let it go easily, and in the end, it required a little bit of elbow grease, or we could say elbows out, in order to make that move happen. And just like that, that's how Corey Price got the move done. But then subsequently, of course, we've seen Woodgate lose out to Price, and Peters V now still back on the attack as we come back to your live racing pictures. But as these drivers carry on their battle, Richard Simnor has Brandon Dyer still behind him. 4 attempts is the gap. And, well, the altitude at 3M Esports McLaren is not letting this go at all at the moment. And Milton Tomlinson-Dennis 7.4 seconds away, looking safe. But in another twist in the interclass, Mark Collicott, drive-through penalty for instant points. And, well, that drive-through penalty at the moment, given the gaps, as we show you the class standings once again, he is currently ahead of Jared Love by the tune of around about, if my mental maths is correct, 38 seconds. So for Collicott, he would still most likely come out back ahead of Love, but Love would have another target a lot closer to him. And again, this is where, in the closing stage of the race, tied arms, tied legs, and instant points have all added up, and potentially, could there be errors on strategy for drivers? All that could add together here and suddenly turn the tables in the interclass, indeed in every class out there. We will wait and see as, oh, hold up here, what's happened to Corey Price? The Dartwing Racing driver's gone around at the hairpin, and he's going to come into the pit lane there. Has he made a mistake of his own volition, or has he been nudged around? We'll have to see very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. But before we do, we come back to Petty versus Fearbold, the third place battle in the club class, keeping us plenty entertained. And, well, Petty right now in his Porsche, definitely feeling that increasing pressure as Fearbold stays glued to the back of him. And I think for Eddie, he's got the pace to beat Petty, but he's not catching the right points on the lap to be able to show he's got the pace. That's the problem. It is the tried and tested old school issue in racing, whereby you've got so much pace, but you just can't find a place to use it. But meanwhile, look to the rear of the picture. It now becomes the focus of our cameraman's attention. That is Jared Love on the back of Alfred Kirstein, lapping as close as possibly to the back of Kirstein he goes, but on the last couple of laps the two have been equal on pace. Now I think there might be that Love coming up behind the Mercedes driver, Sonny discovered that he's losing time because of the fact he's just not able to get past that dirty air. And if so, well, Love's got to get inventive here and get inventive quickly, because we're on to lap 35 for our leader. They'll shortly be on to said lap, and I suspect we've got about another 5 laps to go before that checkered flag waves. So for Love, he needs to get this move done, and then he needs to take one more place, as Mark Collicott, meanwhile, still to serve that drive-through penalty. He's got 3 laps to serve it. If he doesn't, it will be upgraded to a disqualification. And the DCW Racing blue driver right now heading on around here in his Mercedes. Well, I think he's going to wait as long as possible to serve it. He doesn't want to give up track position wherever possible, which is understandable. But meanwhile, Ben Woodgate, Euros Peters Veem, their fight, that rages on for 5th place after Corey Price's demise. But what exactly happened to Corey Price? Well, we're going to be able to tell you after we see this battle down the hill, ladies and gentlemen, just in case Peters Veem looks for an opportunity here, but it looks like he may not. He's not close enough here coming down for the crane of curves, and Woodgate holds his ground. But you see Peters Veem, in fact, getting a better entry to the apex, but I think they just missed time in the engagement of the throttle, and then having to back off as they head through Schwann's and in towards McLean's. But as we leave them, we show you what happened to Corey Price. And for Price, he was chasing after, was the 1-2-1 there, Philip Harris, to put a lap on him. Came into the brakes for Goddard's. As he did so, the rear of the car just let go and went around, and that's how he lost 2 places at the price of 1 mistake. So self-inflicted, and the Dartwing Racing driver losing out. But back to your live pictures we come, because Mark Collicott serving his drive-through penalty. Where does this put him in relation to Alfred Kirstein and Jared Love? Well, the answer is they're just coming onto the start-finish straight, as it will be Mark Collicott leaving that start-finish straight at Redgate Bend. So still a huge gap to go. And for Alfred Kirstein right now, well, the Danish driver here just trying to hold on for 6th place versus Love, who's 4 attempts and closing. But Love, as much as he's throwing the pace at this right now, they're coming up behind other cars as well. They're coming up behind club drivers, as Eddie Fearbold has passed Petty. He has found his way through in the end, and that was only months ago as well. And how do they change the places over? Well, we take a look back and find out, ladies and gentlemen. So So this was Theobald making his way on down towards the Melbourne hairpin, and in the end, onto the brakes, went all in for it, and Petty opened up the door as much as possible, aware and trying to go for the switchback, but in the end, with the blue flags waving for Milton Tomlinson-Dennis coming on through, Petty decided to let it go. So that explains Theobald's third place in the club class, at least for now. But then again, could we see Petty come back right at the very end? As Jared Love still trying to find a way past Alfred Kirsten. And he did care racing a Statbot.com driver. The only thing he can potentially do here by getting so close is try to lull Alfred Kirsten into a mistake of some description. Tries to get him to pick up some more off tracks. You know, he could be dangerously close to a drive-through penalty, for example. That's coming onto the brakes here. He's going to make a mistake. There's Kirsten. He just gets a bit too close to the back of Jordan, not of Jordan Butler's car, of Christopher Petty's car. And in the end, Jared Love makes the move. So that's one down for Jared Love. He needs one more. And Ross Young is into the pit lane. I don't believe it. This could be it for Jared Love. Love comes out the final corner here. 6 minutes to go. Is he going to get ahead of Ross Young, who makes one down? And Ross did have to come in due to damage to the car. And yes, Jared Love's up in a 5th place. Now things finish, they currently stand. Love will be your Inter champion. And Alfred Kirsten right now, well, he may not know it, but losing that place has made the difference. And Ross Young having to come in. And well, for Ross Young, I do believe he had to come in a lot earlier on in this race. And that was right at the start, I suspect, for one of the big incidents that unfolded. And well, in fact, as we double check our statistics, he was in on lap 21. He's had to come in again, so something's wrong with the car there for what has been the Clark St James with Dexterous Motorsports team. So he's had to make a 2-stop out of this race when it was unexpected. More than something for Jared Love. This is all looking good, but I don't think he's going to be aware of it right now, or if he is, he will not take his foot off the gas. And with things finished as they currently stand, Jared Love will be your Inter champion based on the points that we have here in the commentary booth by 2 points to Bobby Ross. And meanwhile, Bobby Ross still leading here with a gap of 7.5 seconds to Sam Hockley. He's in control for the win, but this will not be enough for him right now unless we've got it wrong mathematically, which we normally haven't. Alternatively, there's going to be another twist in the tail, and for Ross Young it's now a black flag as well. And well, that black flag, we've got black flags coming up for several drivers. Ross Young's got one, Jordan Butler's got one as well. We've got a slowdown for Petty that's been served, but Jordan Butler's got a slowdown and a black flag as we see the battle there raging on between Woodgate and Peters Veeam. So it's all curtains, it's all battling here all the way to the very end in the fight for 5th place in Pro and overall. But Peters Veeam has picked up a drive-through penalty for contact. Now, it didn't look as though there was any contact there, unless it was a tiny touch on Netco contact at that. And well, Peters Veeam immediately comes into the pit lane there. He wants no more role to play in this, and the same, he just wants to get the drive-through out the way. Well, 4 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen. It could all still change. Remember, we still do have a Pro Championship that is very precariously poised at the moment. Milton Tomlinson-Dennis with the win is full for the season. It would not be enough to beat Richard Simnor, who in turn has Brandon Dyer hot on his heels behind him. But Simnor right now, should he finish 2nd or 3rd, so long as Dyer takes 2nd place, if Simnor finished in 3rd, it would still be Simnor's crown. But as they come up behind traffic, well, Alfred Kirsten does not want to get in the way of Brandon Dyer, who's not too pleased. He comes across there, and well, Alfred Kirsten does get away in the end. And well, as we see them making the way through, well, Brandon Dyer's had a huge run for the S's there. He's going to go for it, surely. Now he's got to be thinking about it here as he looks up the inside. We see him go for some late lunges earlier on, and they're going to go in. They touch, and as they do, coming out the corner 2 wide. And right now, this could have repercussions in the championship. With Simnor still defending on the inside here. Well, for Simnor, he may not have done the maths. I think he feels though he's got to hold Dyer off when actually he can let him go, and he goes a bit too hot. They make top contact again. Surely the instant points are going to be built up at this rate. That's 8 instant points and the 2 contacts between them, unless one of them gets registered as 0x. But right now, with that contact, if that's 8 instant points, well, they're going to be very dangerously close to picking up drive-through penalties. And should one of them do so, this could completely throw the script out the window and will make everyone tear their hair out in the pit lane garages. But Simnor and Dyer fighting hard every step of the way. That's what we want to see. We want it go down to the wire. But of course, there's so many worries right now for both drivers here, although in the heat of it, they won't be thinking about those worries of penalty points. They won't be thinking about instant points. All they're thinking about is battling on the road, and can you blame them? No, you can't, as they make the way onwards. But as he looks up inside, big dive from Dyer, going all in towards McLean's Bend. They head up towards Coppins right now. Simnor still there as he heads up the hill with Brandon Dyer throwing everything at this. He's literally tossing the car on the brakes to places it doesn't belong. And as they make the way through, there is Ashley Coupland catch up for Relentless Racing. He wants a role to play in this. He says, can I come out to play? And they'll both say no. But as they make the way onwards right now into the rain zone, the S's, Simnor holds off Dyer with Coupland playing a role. But it would be Simnor your champion as it stands. Tomlinson-Dennis would be second ahead of Brandon Dyer. But as, oh my good lord, comes absolutely blazing on the brakes there, Brandon Dyer. And well, that's pushing it to the limit, and it's all to the grass. And for Brandon Dyer, that is it. Surely now he's given it everything, but I think they're coming in so hot on the brakes, he's thrown away the chance, and Richard Simnor's held him off. Now Ashley Coupland goes on the attack, and Coupland here wants that second place. He doesn't want to help out Milton Tomlinson-Dennis. He just wants to play, simply put. And well, right now, for Simnor, he could afford to lose that position. He could afford to let it go, and he would still be your champion because Tomlinson-Dennis would not do enough. He'd be 6 points behind. So will Simnor risk it here? Is he going to be looking at the instant points and thinking to himself after everything that's played out between himself and Brandon Dyer? Does he need any more drama? Was they roll the way onwards? And we say hello to Schubert Cardozo, who's tuning in. It says, thank the Lord, feeling so much better now for Jared Love, in the fact he was caught up in that contact with Jared Love right at the start. And understanding when that happens, when you do end up in contact with a championship contender in a championship you're not part of, you do feel incredibly guilty. So I can completely understand where Schubert's coming from. Well, right now for Jared Love, here he is chasing after Eddie Theobald, but that's not going to change the places. It will just simply move it up one more overall. He has dropped Alfred Kirsten and is looking a lot happier right now. But as our leader, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, heads down towards the Melbourne hairpin, he's got one more lap to go. Lap 42 of 42 is only a corner away from being started. And, well, it will be the final lap of his season where points are concerned for Samantha Turn Racing. But as he comes on through that corner, the white flag waves, and right now for Tomlinson-Dennis, it's one more run. Simnor, meanwhile, with Ashley Coupland looking down the outside of him. Well, he's having to go defence here. Coupland trying to make that move happen. They touch, and there's further contact between the two. Well, coming out to the corner there, Simnor hold on right now, but this really does feel as though he's going to get into that finish line. Bruised and bad, but not broken, as Coupland dies up the inside here, and surely at some point, if you're Simnor, you've got to let this go, but he's not going to let it go. He wants to place because I think he's worried if he loses the position, it's going to be Tomlinson-Dennis who takes the crown, but he lets it go in the end. And I think the team will come on the radio to Richard and said, Richard, just stop fighting. You don't need to win. And as they make the way out the corner, well, I think that's definitely now settled in because you can see the body attitude of the car. I think it's starting to just turn down about 5%. But when he comes back at Coupland, we will see other battles out there. Well, this is the last major battle, really, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, a bit further back, Elliot caught on the back of Sam Hockley, who has moved to second in the interclass for everything that's played out, particularly with the difficulties of retirement for Kyle Roy, and also drive-through penalty for Mark Collicott, and Thomas Weston could be, of course, here for his maiden podium in the interclass with only one lap to go. Indeed, anything's happened today, and it has happened. But meanwhile, as he heads on to his final lap, we come back to your race leader because Milton Tomlinson-Dennis makes his way out of turn 11 into 12, and, well, 3 wins to start off the season. It was a perfect start to the season, but the mid-portion of the season and the latter half have been struggles. But for Tomlinson-Dennis, he will end the season on a high. He will take the win at Donington Park, pro and overall for Samantha Turn Racing. But with that, that puts him on 678 points. And as Ashley Coupland comes out the corner, he will take second. But for Richard Simnor, he does it. Third is enough on 684 points. He will become your pro champion for DCW Racing Blue. Head of Brandon Dyer comes home fourth there. Vouching for him, esports header Ben Woodgate, who will come across the line 11 seconds behind. And, well, Dyer will finish in third in the Pro Championship as a result of that fourth. Woodgate comes on through in fifth. And then it will be Joris Petersveen coming on through to take sixth in the end in a race that has been up, down, it's been around for the Dutchman. And Corey Price will take seventh behind him. Bobby Moss, meanwhile, he comes on through the final corner, and here today, he needed the win, and he's going to do it for the SimRacing Collective Esports. He'll be absolutely pleased with this, and, well, you can see the happiness on the car, but I don't know if he's aware, because as Elliot Court comes to line with Sam Hockley behind, Hockley takes another second place. A brilliant job there for the 254 Privateer. Then Adam Lynch will come on through, and he will be your club champion, and he ends the season with his 4th win. Well done to Adam for that. Redemption for Road Atlanta. Bradley set as 12th, and it'll be Thomas Weston with his maiden podium of the season, coming through for 13th overall, but 3rd in the interclass with Raz Harper. Then Jack Giles, your runner-up in the Championship of Club, and indeed here today in class, and Mark Collicott will come through. But as he does so, well, for Jared Love, he's already out of the car. He's in the pit lane to celebrate because Jared Love has taken what is 5th place in Inter, and it does mean he is your provisional Inter champion by only 2 points. Eddie Theobald finished a lap down and took 3rd place in the club class, ladies and gentlemen. But as all the drivers coming through, well, there's just one thing we need to do before we get those results, and that is to show you Jared Love coming across the finish line, because it's only fair we do so. And well, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, caught up in that instant on the start line, sends him all the way to the back of the field. And for the Ferrari driver, he didn't give up. He pushed as hard as possible every step of the way, and whereas many would think it was all over, well, it looked like it was, but he fought his way up to 7th. He found a way past Alfred Kirstein. Then it was a second pit stop, an unexpected pit stop for Ross Young, and for Jared Love, this 5th place. I don't know if he knows he's done it, because he's not celebrating coming across the line. I think he's lost it. He thinks he's lost it, but he should know that he has taken it by 2 points provisionally, subject to the stewards. And well, the 210 driver, when he gets out that car, he's going to have a lot of smiling faces waiting for him at a DDK, and he'll be wondering what exactly has happened. I think he's going to have the same thing as James Hunt had all those years ago, and thinking that he's lost when actually he's won. And Eddie Theobald there cooling down after taking 3rd place in the club class. Another podium for the 152 driver, and a brilliant end to his season, that race-long battle of Christopher Petty. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we head to your live circuit side pictures, and let's take a look at those race results subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries. And here are said results then, ladies and gentlemen, and what a round of racing it has been today. I mean, we expected there was going to be drama in the season finale. There always is, but this one absolutely packed full of it, literally from go to not go to the very end. And Milton Tomlinson-Dennis for Samantha Racing doing exactly what he needed to today in order to give himself the best chance of stealing the Pro Crown away. His 4th win overall and in Pro this season, but the Samantha Racing driver in the end could not take the crown because Ashley Cooperman took 2nd place for Relentless Racing, 10 seconds behind, and a further 7 tenths behind. 3rd in Pro and overall. It was enough. Richard Simnor for DCW Racing Blue fought incredibly hard. I think pushed the absolute breaking point in his Corvette, but held onto the podium and with it holds on to the Pro Crown. Brandon Dyer, 4th there for Altitude 3 Esports, sending it every corner in the end. Some incredible moves today from the Briton. He knew he had to go for it, and that's why to some it may look desperate, but when your back is up against the wall, you've got to go all in. And the Altitude 3 Esports striking in with that 4th place, losing out to 2nd in the championship and finishing 3rd instead. Meanwhile, 5th there for Ben Woodgate for Inter Racing Team. A great race for him ahead of Joris Peters V in the privateer and Corey Price, the Darkwing Racing drivers, with Bobby Moss your winner in the interclass. And a great end to the season for Bobby for the SimRacing Collective Esports. The result he wanted, but of course doesn't quite give him the championship outcome he needed, as Elliot Court 9th there for DDK with RaceStatBot.com. Ahead of Sam Hockley, the privateer, run up in the interclass. And with that, well, it does mean that it makes his season what is a season of 2nd places where he's visited the podium. So he's only ever visited the podium with 2nd place finishes, of which he's now got 3 of them. Adam Lynch, his 4th club win of the season, and a brilliant and a dominant drive today for the English driver. Nobody could touch him, with Bradley Setters in 12th place for Relentless Racing, constantly following Lynch throughout the entirety of the round, with Thomas Weston 13th there, rounding off the Inter-podium. And what an end to the season for Thomas Weston, and indeed a maiden podium right at the finish line. That's the way you end a season on a high. Raz Harper, 14th there for DDK RaceStatBot.com, 3 seconds ahead of Jack Giles, your run-up in the club results, plus also the club championship for Eurotitles Endurance. And Mark Collicott there, just missing out on the Inter-podium with that drive-through penalty for DCW Racing Blue, but still at a 4th place there and even more points. But we can see a lap down in the end. First of those to finish a lap down, Eddie Theobald, 3rd in the club class there, the prior to end his season on a podium. Head of Jared Love, who says, well, that wasn't fun. Well, Jared, I don't know if you are aware in the YouTube chat, you are our provisional Inter champion. You may not have had fun today, but you've done it by 2 points by our reckoning. We will let it be confirmed, but we believe you have done it through that recovery drive to 5th place in the Interclass. Congratulations on that. Just ahead of Alfred Kirsch at the end for Simstrat by Glass Tip Race Down to take that opportunity at the Melbourne hairpin when he could. And Krista Petty completing the top 20, just missed out on the club podium. Outside the top 20, 21st, it was Philip Harris for Eurotypes Endurance, ahead of Ross Young, Jordan Butler, Adam Smith, Rob Gregg, and Martin Brandon was the last driver to finish the race there, a lap down for what was none other than Access and Sport with Simworks. And then we come to your drivers who were non-finishers, including James Fraser, Kyle Roy, Martin Kenyon, Leon Seeley, Brad Pickett, Andy Jones, and Schubert Cardozo. But as for the individual class finishing positions, because this is where the points are made and paid, starting with Pro, Milton Tomlinson-Dennis, your winner today, his 4th win of the season for Samantha Racing. 10 seconds ahead of Ashley Coutland for Relentless Racing, and Richard Simnor a further 7/10 behind for DCW Racing Blue. As we do see the congratulations coming out there from Patrick Falconer and Closet Sim Racer, who are saying congratulations to the DCW Racing Pro Champions. He's done it with that 3rd place, done it by 6 points over Tomlinson-Dennis. Brandon Dyer falls to 3rd in the standings as a result of that 4th place at Altitude Free Esports, but he had to go for it, but it didn't quite work out. And Ben Woodgate completed the top 5 there for Inter Racing Team. Jonas Petersveen fought hard with Woodgate and Corey Price, but he got the better price, but not of Woodgate. And the Darkwing Racing Giant in 7th place was still the best part of none other than 16 seconds ahead of Elliot Court for DDK with RaceStatBot.com. Bradley Setters and Raz Harper completed the top 10, and then we did see retirements for Leon Seeley, Andy Jones, and Schubert Cardozo. To the Interclass we then go. As we can see in the second of our classes, Bobby Moss there, your SimRacing Collective Esports winner today, and will win in by almost 7 seconds overhead of Sam Hockley. And the privateer there enjoyed another 2nd place finish ahead of Thomas Weston. It was 2 McLarens on the bottom steps of the podium, but a Porsche on top, and Bobby Moss taking the perfect result. Mark Collier got 4th there for DCW Racing Blue, and then with an absolutely Herculean recovery drive, Jared Love, 5th place there for DDK with RaceStatBot.com. And that truly, with Ross Young coming into the pit lane, was his own personal is that Glock moment, if you will. But a lap down as classified, but champion provisionally. Alfred Kirstein behind at 6th place there for Simstrat by Glass Tip Racing ahead of Ross Young. And then we did see in 8th place Adam Smith ahead of Kyle Roy, the first to retire for the race. And Martin Keane and Brad Pickett also retiring. As we say hello to Alan Luff, who says that was a fun race all the way. Indeed, what a race it has been today. But to the last of your classes, that is club, and as we see Adam Lynch, his 4th win of the season for the privateer outfit, and what a way to win. 14 seconds absolutely on the dot ahead of Jack Giles, his main contender for this season, and Jack Giles run up there to Lynch in both the standings and also positions today. One of the Eurotypes Endurance Strike was a lap down to Eddie Theobald for a return to the podium in his long battle with Krista Petty, and Philip Harris completed the top 5 there for Eurotypes Endurance, and outside the top 5, Jordan Butler, Rob Gregg, Martin Brandon, and unfortunately a non-finish for James Fraser. But that is a rundown of your results, ladies and gentlemen, subject to these insurance inquiries. And with that, we're not going to dilly day for too long, because coming up next, of course, we've got our post-round interviews. So don't go anywhere. We've got plenty of interviews coming up, and we'll be back in approximately 5 minutes' time to get them underway from Donington Park today. And it's lights out and away we go for our season opener. As Sard Pie gets a good start, but look alongside him and you'll see there Milton Tomlinson-Dennis immediately going the attack into the braking zone. One drive into the grass already. That's Mikey Story, but 3 wide they come into the opening corner. That's a bold move there. William Humphrey makes the place as they make the way through in towards turn number 2. I think the Altitude 3M Esports driver here might just be fancying his chances once again as they come into the braking zone now for turn number 1, and as they make the way from right into left, well, Hayden Miller here side by side with him. They'll go all the way through to turn number 3, and Saunders does take the place there. That's for overall position, not for pro position. Saunders is the pro leader, but he goes a bit deep there at 3 to the inside of 4 then, and Miller right now enjoying this. Saunders enjoying it. A little bit of rub and contact between the two of them, but nothing wrong with a bit of bump and grind between the two Ford, for the Ford and the Corvette, the two Americans I should say. And
with those two Evo drivers in front of them, because they're realistically in a completely different race, they're just a barrier up towards the likes of Rubino and Wendell. Oh, there's Rubino going off the road, and here comes James Bostock, past 1, past 2. This is a great little move from James.
Oh, and look behind him as well. Hardiek, up high. He decides to come back down low. But Denny Plurger has really lost a lot of ground here. He's lost 7 places since the start of this race in that green Porsche. It is, but look at this for the lead. Hammond wants it. He's gone back down the inside. He got off the brakes again to let the car down the inside of Rob Mackay. And you said Rob was going to be clinging on at the front. And now he's clinging on to second. Great move by Lewis Hammond. Really good committed stuff. And look, down the inside, Richard White. He wants a piece of this in the Porsche. He's got James Bostock.
And it's lights out and away we go here as Mirko Bortolotti goes exactly on the green, and as they roar the way down towards turn number 1, Martin Statman side by side with him, but look behind, Tim Perry under pressure, Miguel Leon immediately as the Enosis Esports driver tries to put the pressure on. Further back we've got 3, 4 wide, they're all in the crush as they come through the opening bay. Look back for the rear of your second place runner, Statman, and Statman right now for the Gazex Racing team. What he's trying to do here, I think now, is just hold on to second, and if needed, he may have to act as a bit of a buffer and perhaps sacrifice a little bit of his race for the race leader here, although Bortolotti, to be fair, I think might be holding some pace back. But here comes Lux in the tow, in towards what we roller coaster they come with the Virginian corkscrew. It's left into right very quickly here as they both make the way, and it's 2 wide on entry, but Lux gets ahead. It's up into second now, as it will be Martin Statman falling down to third, but Callum Lux does clear another one, and now only one car is between him and an opportunity of victory here tonight. Which is Perry going to make the move, or I'm going to have to make the move for him? Well, there's your answer. Perry's going to go on the inside here of Dean into the braking zone. Edwards gets to watch it from the popcorn seat view. Perry there being 2 wide on exit. Dean's going to try and hang around the outside. Does Edwards think about going up the inside as well? He gets himself ready for it in case there's contact, but there's not. Perry there being fair. Dean tucks back in behind. Lovely move there from Tim Perry. And I think meanwhile Beardsworth will hope they don't get close up in time, as Beardsworth's going to look up the inside. He goes all in, and it's from very far back. He gets it stopped, however, and Beardsworth there nails the move, but Tillerson's going to come back and him up the hill. Does he go in on the brakes here? This is bold to do it on the inside. No, he does not. And Brian Beardsworth at the end, he gets it wrong. He goes out wide at turn number 6. Tillerson's going to be 2 wide with him, but 2 wide they're going to turn 7. Tillerson goes on the switchback there. 9 is no way through, and in the end they come down towards turn number 8. Well, there Tillerson backs off. He lets Hutchinson go around the outside, but is it the right call? Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time to get our post-round interviews underway. And, well, we kick off, of course, by starting in the pro class, because joining me now in the interview room is your provisional pro champion for this season. It is none other than Richard Simnor. Richard, good evening to you. How does that sound, pro champion?
I can't believe it, actually. It's been an interesting few days in my camp, and I sort of resigned myself almost in my own mind that I was just going to finish third, and I'll be happy with that. And that the start of the season was hard, it was tough, and then things just started to swing my way, and the momentum built and built and built, and then it got to Road Atlanta, and I sort of semi-chucked it away a little bit there, and I didn't need to push so hard, and then yeah, the qualifying came together. I nearly got pole. I was up so much on the last 15 minutes, going through old hairpin all the way to the last hairpins, and then just lost it on the last 2 corners every lap, and it was just so frustrating. I knew I could have got pole, and at Milton was too quick anyway, so it would have been fine being in second. I didn't think I'd be in second, to be fair, coming into T1, but the gap just was there, and it just opened up, and it was quite an early green as well onto the straight, so I reacted really well, as did Milton, and I think Ash just sort of dropped back, and that I think made the race really, because then him and Brendan really put on just a humongous fight. I had Paddy spotting for me today, to be fair, you know, so we had a bit of help just keeping my head, and letting me know about pace and stuff like that, so I didn't have to focus on too much, and I could just do my lap time. Like I keep saying, just settle into my pace, do my laps, not worry too much about whether the gap's closing or stretching. Just do what I can do. Yeah, and then those last few laps were just terrible, absolutely terrible. Just that everybody wanting it, and I'm the one in front, and it's a horrid place to be. I think Brandon lost his brakes, nearly took us both out. And then Ash actually said to me, he says he wasn't trying to go for the overtake. It was just that he was just trying to avoid me a little bit. And then I just thought, no, this is silly. Don't fight him. I don't need second place. I just need third now. So I let him go, and brought it home. And yeah, I just didn't think I'd be where I was, to be honest.
Well, to be fair to you, Richard, it has been, I can hear it in your voice, it has been an emotional race in many respects. It's been up and down. But in the heat of those battles at Donington Park as well, a circuit where the flow and the rhythm of this circuit is so aggressive and the risk of off tracks and therefore instant points is so high. I mean, at what point were you, or was it perhaps having Paddy on the wall having to say to you, look, Richard, you need to calm it down because you don't need to win this race, nor do you even need second. You just need third in the end in order to see this through.
I was good on the off tracks. I think I only got 8 in total, and most of those were coming towards the end when I just wanted to push a bit more through old hairpin, and I knew I could just sort of nail it a little bit more. But yeah, in practice, I mean, everybody was the same. Everybody's saying it. It's just like you go in practice and it's hard to get a clean lap. The chicane's so hard. You've got to be super, like you've got to go drive through the bollards and pretend they're not there, but you go too far over and it's a 1X, and you could just be doing what you think is the right line, and it clocks them up so easy. Exits of corners like T1 or old hairpin, exit of McLean's. If you just go a little bit too wide, it's a 1X, and you can get 3 in a lap if you're really ragging it. And by the looks of some of the guys, they were really going for it. I was kind of hoping like Brandon had very little X to play with, which is why I sort of sat in my back quarter. And I thought, nah, he's just biding his time. He's going to go for it in the last couple of laps. He's going to go for it, which he did. And I was just sort of fearful of the fact that he might get me, and then Ash was definitely quicker. Ash was quicker than the two of us, and he proved that at the start of the race. And there was just this fear for like the last 10 laps, and I was looking at the clock. And that last 10 minutes took an age. It was almost 50% of the race in my mind. It was just horrid. Yeah. But it worked in the end, right?
Oh, indeed. It has worked out for yourself. You can take that big breath of fresh air. You can have that big sigh of relief now, the fact that you have provisionally taken the Pro Championship crown. And I mean, it's been a phenomenal season for yourself. And whilst perhaps you didn't steal the headlines that Milton Tomlinson-Dennis did with 3 wins to start off the season, you have been almost consistent in such an aggressively paced field this season. I mean, you're no stranger to leading championships. Of course, in the UK SimRacing Series only a few seasons ago, you had a season-long battle there. But I get the feeling this one's going to mean even more.
Yeah, I think it does. It's definitely the hardest one I've had to fight, and it's definitely the closest finish I've ever had to a championship. Yeah, the UK SimRacing Championship, there's a lot of the same guys on the field, but we're talking sort of Ash was there, Raz was there, so I knew that I had the legs on those guys, even though actually, to be fair, I think they've stepped up a huge amount since that season. There was that belief, though, inside me that I would be okay against those guys. But starting off the season, and I saw how quickly Milton was and how quick Brandon were, and I saw the pace of these guys, and I just thought, I'm going to be lucky to get a trophy. And I think the first couple of rounds, I wasn't even in the top 5, and it was a bit of a difficult start. And it's the same as any championship. There's quick guys, like Corey was quick, great example. if he turned up to every race, the whole story would be different. So in some respects, I'm lucky that I attend the whole races. I commit to a season. I'm going to do it. I'm going to just commit to every single race if I can, holidays aside or emergencies aside, and that will get you up there. So it's if anybody wants to sort of, on the outside looking in, saying, well, how do I compete with these guys? Just attend. That's the first step, and you'll get a trophy. If you're consistent, and if like me, you might not be the quickest, but you just work on that consistency. You work on pacing yourself and not taking too much risks. And it does sound boring, but you'll get there, and you'll move forward and forward and forward. And yeah, I mean, I look at how I'm driving now versus how I'm driving, or how I've driven in other series, and I think this season has probably been the hardest I've had to push. And Road Atlanta was a great example. It took everything to stay in front of the two guys, and it took one wiggle to end it. And that's the level that I'm having to drive at just to keep up with these absolutely fantastic pedalers. And yeah, I think, to be honest, I think I feel it must be frustrating for Milton. He started off so well, and he had such a lead, and I think he had to take a few rounds off just because of real world matters, and that dropped him back. Really, if he'd attended every single race, I don't think I'd be anywhere near the championship title. And the same can be said of Brandon. There's lots of incidents that happen in the season where Brandon had the legs on everybody, was an absolutely, he was just trouncing people in certain races, and then he'd make a mistake. And I think the one he will probably always quote is Mugello, where he sped into the pits, and it just goes like that. You go from here to zero. And so we've all had these reasons why we're not running away with the championship, and it just so happens that my ascendancy in finishing position has coincided with their sort of run of bad form, and it got me there with two rounds to go, and I just sort of thought, ooh, eek. I genuinely didn't think. I just looked at the lead I had at Road Atlanta. I just thought, how the heck am I that far in front? It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it's been a season.
Oh, it most definitely has. And to be fair, I think a lot of drivers, myself included, can draw inspiration from yourself, saying that sometimes you don't need to be the fastest, just be consistent and turn up at every round, and you're going to win something. But in this instance, you have won the championship. And naturally, that brings me on to asking, what's next for yourself? Can we expect you back to defend your title in season 13?
Yeah. I've already signed up. I think it's going to be tricky because it will be they'll be sort of doing it a little bit different next season. So the Masters and the Superstars will be sort of merged again. So I'll be back with fighting some even quicker drivers. From the Masters series, because I know a few of them, and they are definitely a league ahead. I just hope that where I start the season and where I finish the season, I can be proud of the progress that I make, regardless of where I finish. It doesn't have to be the championship win. It can just be picking the guys who are closest to my pace and beating those guys. Like this season, I've always sort of used Leon as my benchmark. He's quicker. He's quick as me, and in some respects quicker. So whenever we're on the same bit of track, if I'm ahead, that's my benchmark. That's my measure of my progress. So I think next season, yeah, I'm targeting mid pack like I always do.
Oh, fair play. Well, it's going to be an even tougher competition next season, like you say, but we look forward to seeing you get right in the pack and get stuck in. And just before I do leave you to go celebrate with your DCW racing teammates, who I know are eagerly awaiting for you in the DCW Discord, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, it's quite an important one this week. I'm chatting at my mum. She went to hospital yesterday, which, you know, she's in the right place. She's got the NHS around her and they're looking after her. She might have to have an operation at some point. We don't know yet. But it was a bit touch and go whether I'd even be here tonight, which I'm glad I made it. I'm glad that she was in, you know, just there in the ward, just relaxing. So there wasn't any sort of pressure to be around her at the time. But, you know, my heart's and my mind and my thoughts are just with her, hoping she recovers and gets back to being healthy again. Yeah, I love her to bits.
Oh, that's absolutely fair. And I'm sure she'll appreciate the shout out. And we're very grateful for you taking the time to go racing today when, understandably, your heart and your mind's with your mum. And we wish her all the best as she undergoes care with the NHS. I'm sure she's going to be absolutely fine. And well, hopefully it's going to be an even more positive story coming out her way soon. Like it's been such a positive story for yourself today, Richard, because with that, you are our provisional pro champion subject to the final stewards inquiries. You've done it. You've made it happen after 10 incredible rounds of racing. Congratulations to you once again. Thank you for joining me for an interview, and we wish you a lovely rest of your evening and a lovely weekend ahead.
Thanks, Paul.
So hearing there from quite an emotional Richard Simnor, ladies and gentlemen, and well, how about that? He may have not been here today, but thankfully, all was settled with regards to his mum in being in hospital, and therefore, the National Health Service is able to take his mind away from that and go racing today. And we're talking about the fact that he knew he needed third place in the situation that he was in, but in the heat of the battling, of course, found himself right in the thick of it, and well, some of the hardest battling he's ever had to go through in order to get to a crown, and this being the toughest competition he has faced so far in his sim racing journey. But some profound words there said from it as well, and really putting everything in perspective. The fact that there were faster drivers out there, including Milton Tomlinson-Dennis on paper, Brandon Dyer, Corey Price, and when they did show up and when they truly turned up, they really were able to match Richard, if not surpass him. But over the season, turned up to every round, delivered the goods at every round, and then he's come away not just with a trophy, but with the winner's trophy. And it hasn't just been given to him, he's earned it the hard way, and I think nobody can take that away from this man, who really is a class gen off the circuit and an absolute class racer on it, and congratulations to him. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got a couple more interviews to come, and we're staying with the FEMA champions because we're heading to the interclass, and you know who we're going to be speaking to very shortly. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to now welcome to the interview room your provisional inter-champion for Season 12 in the Superstar Split. It is none other than Jared Love. Jared, that must have felt as though you were in the movie Rush, and essentially you lost it all only to win it all right at the very end. I mean, if you had to sum up this round in a single word, what would it be? Keeping it, of course, not 18 rated for the purposes of this broadcast.
Oh, well, you've got me thinking there. We'll go with 2, and I'll take the Lord's name in vain and just say, Jesus Christ. That was crazy. And it just shows that luck goes both ways. The start was the genuinely worst case scenario. I hadn't even crossed the line yet, so I towed and didn't even get on the lead lap. And then really lucky with somebody got a drive-through penalty, and then Kyle had also some kind of incident that he retired. He's had a few of them this season, unfortunately. So yeah, for what was the worst luck possible at the start of the race, turned into the best luck at the end to get me that P5.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, the thing is as well, if it was an instant, say, on the first couple of laps, you could perhaps look past it a little bit and go, it's how the race has gone. But when it happens before you've even actually crossed the start line, I mean, I can imagine some of the words that must have come out your mouth when the contact happened. I mean, I know Schubert, if you didn't notice in the YouTube chat, actually immediately gave a big sigh of relief when he saw you had got into 5th place, because he was one of the drivers caught up in that instant. But perhaps framing it in a bit more of a positive light, how did you mentally settle down after that? Because a lot of drivers would have just given up, but not you. You went absolutely all in.
Yeah, it certainly crossed my mind. It's something when I towed and realised it was a minute and I was still going to be on as if I was crossing the line. I just thought, you know what? I know what a qualified pole. I obviously had pace over all, if not most of the inter drivers, and just knew, you know, get out there, get pushed. There's going to be incidents. There's no point in giving up. I've raced 9 races or 8 races I've made. There's no point in giving up at the last hurdle. You never know what's going to happen. You know, what happened to me could have happened to Bobby. Bobby could have had a pro take him out or whatever. So you just got to keep going. And luckily I did it. I was certainly pushing very hard, to the point of when I think I saw somebody get the drive-through penalty that put me into 5th place, I had 1 incident point left because I was on the limit for the whole race to try and make up the time, and I was like, oh no, I better just rein this in and make sure I don't get a drive-through, because that would have, you know, knocked me down a place or two again.
Well, indeed, we were wondering how close you might have been to a drive-through penalty, given how hard you were driving, and we could see the instant points were gradually being built up. So 1 away. I mean, it's the magical difference. But at the same time, I then have to ask, did you know coming into the round then that 5th place would have been enough if Bobby had taken the win?
Yeah, I looked at the scores of what you got for position and saw that I was 36 ahead, and I think it was 66 points for 5th place. I was hoping, it sounds bad because obviously I want as many people on the grid as possible, but there was that little bit in the back of my head saying, oh, it'd be brilliant to have 6 folk on the grid like we did last week, because if this happened on the first lap, I've only got 1 person overtake. My luck again, of course, there's 11, which is the most we've had in probably about 3 or 4 races. So, yeah, sorry, I'm a bit burst here. I've been up since 5 a.m. for work. I'm in my bed, I think. I'm all right, but I'm tired. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Just rambling.
Oh, no, you're being absolutely fair, to be fair. We won't keep you too long because you do need some rest. I mean,
no, I don't think I'll be sleeping for a while, to be fair. I don't know what's going on. What day is it? No idea.
Well, it's Champions Day. We don't need to label it as an actual day anymore. And with regards to, obviously, towards the end of the race, we did see you have to make that pass on Alfred Kirstein for what was 6th at the time, that then became 5th. It looked as though when you got behind him, you were struggling to get past.
Yeah, he was so fast in a straight line. And again, I think he only had 1 or 2 instant points at that point. So I was trying not to sort of push too hard. I knew that I obviously had pace on him. I'd brought that pace back down from 20, 30 seconds, I think, when I came out of the pits. But he was fast. You know, he wasn't massively off pace. He was only 0.2, 0.3 laps lower than me when we were both doing good laps. So I don't even know where I overtook him. I can't remember. It's a blur. The last sort of 10 minutes of that race, it went from total dejection to, oh, I've blown it at the last minute, to, oh my God, I'm in 5th place. This could happen here. So I think it might have been in the hairpin. I think he ran wide, or did he maybe let someone else pass and I just took it? I can't remember.
Your memory spot on, he went wide at the hairpin.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, please don't hit me. I've not got the instant points for this, but he didn't. I don't know if I don't think he was letting me past. I think it was a mistake. If he did let me past, you're a legend. I don't think he did, but give him a shout out for making a mistake anyway.
Well, a critical mistake, plus also a mistake on pit stops for Ross Young as well, gave you the 5th place, and with it, the right to take the crown that you've chased so long. And when you look back on this season, I mean, we've seen you put together some phenomenal seasons, but surely this has got to be up there as one of your best seasons of racing ever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It started brilliantly with the first two P1s, and then Magello sort of blew up on my face. Definitely should have won that race on pace alone. Obviously, I had the incident and I managed to fight back to 4th place, which, you know, that extra position or two has obviously done me the world of good here. And then I think, obviously, Fuji after that was in the wet. Minor incident, which I think I lost 2nd place. I think Luke Van Gortel was gone. But I think I lost 2nd place in an incident, but still managed to get the 3rd place, Brands Hatch, and then missed the race. Brands Hatch was good, my favourite track, so was delighted to get the win there. And then missed the race and came back, and I almost like switched my sort of mentality the second half of the season. It was like, you know what, let's just do what needs done. Finish as close to Bobby as I can, if not obviously ahead of him at Magny Corps. but just manage the season, manage the races as best I can. Like tonight, for example, if there was never an instant at the start and Bobby was right behind me and he obviously would have wanted to have passed me, I wasn't going to fight it. As much as I would love to have won today's race, you don't win this. You don't win by winning the most races. It's who's got the most points at the end of the season. So I just sort of went into trying to be smart the second half of the season after I came back from a holiday.
Oh, indeed. You drove a very smart second half of the season, like you say, and it was quite close as a result of some of the way the results swung. But taking it in the end, even if it was only by 2 points, still 2 points is more than none. And what's next for yourself? Can we expect you back on the grid for season 13?
Yes, signed up back with Raz and Elliot. I don't think are coming back because they've got social lives unlike me, so they're obviously got plans for the summer. I work, spend time with my kids and sim race. That's all I do. I'm quite boring. So I've managed to convince the boys at DC to sign back up. So Peter signed back up, Dave Collier and Ross Wheatley, who I don't think's ever signed up before, but he works with Dave. So I'm surrounded by Irishmen again, which I'm sure they don't let me forget that I'm Scottish and they're all Irish.
Oh, brilliant. Will be great to see you back with the DC crew and, well, to see a full team of 4 out there is going to be absolutely superb. And as I get ready to let you go, Jared, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to or dedicate this championship crown to?
I'll start with a shout out to Bobby. He's been right there all season, so consistent. Hence, there's only a 2-point gap. He's won 4 races. If anyone deserved the title, but I was still going to get a title as well, it would be him. He's been so consistent. He's not really finished below 3rd or 4th, similar to what I've been all season. If I've made mistakes, he's been there. If I've made mistakes, I've been there. So I think we're both signed up next season. Hopefully both be in the elite class. It's strange that despite being 2 points apart, we've not really raced each other on track. It's been a bit of a strange one in that regard. One's always just ahead of the other and we're not close enough to race. So hopefully next season we can get some side-by-side battling and make it fun. I don't know about Bobby, but I certainly am going to be anywhere near the elite crown. I'm just going to be happy to get some good side-by-side racing. Shout out to everyone at SRI, yourself, the broadcasts are fantastic. I love watching them back. All the admins that organise the league, the stewards, the volunteers that help do the sort of appeals and stewarding process. Shout out to the boys at DDK. Raz Elliott, again, I think we've maybe slipped as far in the team championship. We've had a bit of a poor second half of the season, but they've been there all along, giving each other advice around the tracks. And shout out to my wife as well. I think I'll dedicate it to her. She's brilliant. We've obviously got 2 young kids, a 4 and a 3-year-old. So that can be a handful at times. I've been at work all day and come home and she lets me have some sim racing time, whether it's practice or to race. So she does God's work and let me have that time to, what I would say, de-stress. Tonight hasn't been a de-stressing experience, but give me that time just to zone out. I've got quite a stressful job at times, so it's needed to get some time on the rig to just forget about everything else going on in life.
Oh, that's absolutely fair. And, well, I think your wife definitely deserves a big shout out there. And, well, little sacrifices that she makes so you can have your time in order to be able to give it your all, as we have seen today. And, well, Jared, it's been an incredible story. A first half of the season which was running away to a degree, and a second half where your consistency has been put to the test, and your mental fortitude today being the last thing that was put to the absolute limit. But you've done it. You are provisional Inter champion for season 12 in the Superstar Split. Congratulations once again. I'll leave you to it. Go enjoy. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. You deserve it. And we'll see you on the grid in season 13.
Yeah. Cheers, Paul. Have a good night.
So hearing that, ladies and gentlemen, from a very happy Jared Love, and exhausted Jared Love as well. Crazy thing, he's been up since 5 in the morning and, well, still erasing that. And, well, he must be, after this race, the most exhausted driver on this grid for the simple reason this race has taken so much out of him. And he mentioned there the fact that after the incident and having to tow, it was a minute-long tow as well. A brutal tow at that, even though it was literally only yards away from what was the pit lane. But in the end, got back in the car and kept going, kept pushing every step of the way. grateful for the fact that some of his rivals did end up picking up drive-through penalties and making mistakes, or even having to make extra pit stops in the case of Ross Young, but also had to fight, having to find his way past Alfred Kirstein, who he goaded into an error, coming down into this hairpin at Melbourne, and all that added up to make the difference, seeing return to 5th place in his class and being able to take the championship by 2 points. But a very interesting point he made there, and he's absolutely spot on. He and Bobby Moss have barely fought on the road this season. The only time they did so was last time out at Road Atlanta, and even then they weren't allowed to fight because of the interdiction of 2 pro drivers throughout the entirety of the race for the most part. So this has been a championship where really it has been a long distance championship between Jared Love and Bobby Moss, but in the end 2 points have separated them and they've had very similar results. When season 13, should they both be moved to the same class and we do revert to the split A and the split B configuration, I suspect we're going to see plenty more fighting between them and also their class rivals. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got one more interview to come, and well, we're continuing the theme of champions. We're going to club, so you know who it is. We'll be back very shortly to welcome him in and indeed announce him as your club champion. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for our final interview of this broadcast, joining me now in the interview room, welcome your provisional club champion for Season 12 Superstar Split. It is none other than Adam Lynch. Adam, good evening to you. You've done it. I mean, it was almost set in stone before coming into this round, but when we caught up with you at Road Atlanta, you said you wanted to win here to take that 4th win and put the demons of Road Atlanta behind you. You've done it, surely. You must be happy.
Yeah, I'm over the moon, man. I just wanted to come here and show that, you know, I didn't just win it because of that incident. I wanted to come here and, you know, to take the 4th win, which I did so. Had a really good pace throughout the race, and quality was amazing as well. I think it was a 7/10 gap to Jack behind. I think the temps just caught up with them a little bit to the middle of the session when they were setting the faster laps, and I could just keep that gap, which was nice.
Oh, indeed. A very impressive qualification lap. Like you say, taking pole position in the end by several attempts, and along the way having quite a gap between yourself and Jack Giles, who really was the second best today. Nobody could catch him like he could not catch you. But the start of the race, a lot of drama we got underway. What did it look like from your perspective?
I just saw smoke before the finish line and tried to take as much evasive action as I could and managed to get away from it, which was nice. And then going into turn 1, there was another incident in front of me, avoided that one as well. And from there, kind of, it was just fighting with the cars around me and seeing what I could really do until I had the little moment at the old hairpin. But yeah, it was a tough race, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Now, speaking, of course, of moments, we did see several moments where you did end up fighting with a number of Inter and Pro drivers. One in particular, Bradley Setters, you and him seemed to be very much hooked at the hip with regards to racing each other throughout the entirety of it. Was there a voice in your head at all saying at any point, Adam, you don't need to beat the Pros or Inters, you just need to finish ahead of Jack, who's 10 seconds behind, just let it go? Or was this one of those sorts of, no, I'm going to enjoy this, I'm going to battle with anyone I come across?
Yeah, I was just going to battle with anyone today, especially Bradley. I've had some great battles with him throughout the season. One at Brands Hatch, then I think another at Zolder, I think it was as well. And obviously here today, finally got one over on him. But yeah, no, I've been close to him probably the most of any driver on track, and you know he's really good to race. So yeah, really enjoyed those battles, especially with the other Inters as well. Knowing that I'm up there on pace, and I was trying to just kind of like feel where I was in terms of Inters, and maybe try and get a podium in there, even though obviously it wouldn't count. But that was really always on my mind today. Just try and fight with the drivers around me.
Oh, that makes sense. And, well, trying to get in amongst the top 3 of the Inters where possible. And you were never too far away from them, to be fair, all the way through the race. And I just have to ask, with regards to Donington Park itself, I mean, a circuit that many love, and you showed a lot of love for it in terms of your pace, but how were instant points for yourself? Because Jared Love was 1 point away from a drive-through. Were you close to one?
I had 14, so I wasn't like too close, but I was thinking in the last like 20 minutes, I think I had 14 from 20 minutes. So I was like, okay, right, let's just calm it down a little bit with that and stop trying to push as much as I was. I think I had Elliot caught. I think it was about 3 seconds ahead of me. So I was kind of like, right, I'm not catching it. Just tone it down a little bit. Just keep the pace and try and keep the drivers behind.
Well, you definitely toned it down quite nicely, and in the end, a smooth finish to the season. I can imagine coming out that final corner, the feeling must have been absolutely euphoric to see that checker flag and see you are the champion and you've taken that 4th win, and you've done it in style today.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was fighting Bradley really to the line, and we nearly had an incident which wouldn't have won me the race, and I did get a 0x for it. So luckily it didn't amount to anything. But I was fighting him into the last corner, and then obviously coming out the last corner, it's just everything just goes through your head, and you're like, you've done it. It's done. And yeah, it's just been a great season, super consistent. Everyone's been great, racing wise. I've had very, very minimal incidents with other cars. I've had quite a few myself, which obviously I need to fix, but everyone else, has been really, really clean. So yeah.
Oh, indeed. It has been a very clean season for yourself, and in some respects, you've gradually swept your way to the crown. But understand me, now what's the next step for yourself? Is it to come back in season 13 and take a step up?
Yes, I'm hoping to be in Split A next season in the Pro Class, fighting with some of the Inter drivers that I've been fighting with this season, and hopefully pick up a few podiums. I'm nowhere expecting, like Jared said in the elite. I'm nowhere near expecting to go anywhere near that championship like I have been this season. I'm just looking for some more good fights and just take the next step, improve the pace a little bit, and the management in the race. I think that's my issue with the cars around me. I'm always consistently, like when I'm comparing myself to the Inters in qualifying, I'm always around that third to fifth spot, but then in the race I'm just dropping behind them a little bit. I think that's just due to tyre management, and my consistency through lap to lap isn't great. No, obviously it's been good in the class with the season, but that's just, I think, on raw pace. But I just need to iron out those issues, and maybe a car change probably as well from the Porsche. I'm not sure yet, but if that could come about, we've got a few cars in mind to try. So just hoping I can find the right one where I'm there on pace and consistency as well.
Oh, well, it'll be brilliant in season 13 to see you in an all-new class potentially, and with a whole new GT3 machine to boot. It'll be Adam Lynch reinvented or version 2, but either way, we very much look forward to that. And as I get ready to let you go, is there anyone that you would like to dedicate your championship to, or anyone you'd just like to give a shout out or a mention to on the broadcast tonight?
There's only one man that can be mentioned there, and that is Mr. Jack Giles. He's pushed me all the way. Obviously, it was very unfortunate what happened in Suzuka with him DNFing, which he would have been right there, and obviously Road Atlanta as well. I think the championship would have been a lot closer. So had he not had those incidents, we could be talking about a very different thing here, or you could be talking to a different person. But yeah. Glad to have brought it home. But yeah, Jack Giles, he's pushed me all the way. He's done a great job all season, especially Magna Core as well. I think that was the one track where we actually did fight on track. Because I think the other races, it's kind of the same with Jared and Bobby, where they've just been separated. And yeah, and also the rest of the Eurotitan Endurance boys. I'm going to be racing with those next season as well. We have 2 teams that are entering. I'm looking to hopefully bring home another trophy as they've done this season. I think a P2, I think they've done. So yeah, big shout out to those guys with the help on setups and things like that. Yeah, they've done a amazing job with in the second half of the season. So yeah.
Well, Adam, it's been an absolute blast to catch up with you and to celebrate with you your club championship status. Well done once again. A very well-deserved title. Throughout the whole season, you have been the driver to beat. And like you say, at points, it has been so close between yourself and Jack Giles. But the results in the end didn't quite go his way to level it going into the finale. They definitely went your way over the season. Well done on being our Season 12 club champion. We'll see you in Season 13, running with the Euro Titans endurance team and going all in for all new results. But until then, have a lovely rest of your evening. Celebrate it, enjoy it, you deserve it, and we'll catch you soon.
Thanks for the season, Paul. Appreciate it, mate.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, for Adam Lynch, and how a week has turned around. And I bet you, as soon as he left Road Atlanta, he gave it 24 hours to calm himself down. Afterwards went, right, back to the drawing board, we go to work, we are ending this season on the best possible height. And that's exactly what he did. That monster pole lap in the club class in qualifying, 7 tenths ahead of what Jack Giles was able to do, and was able to find the time at the most critical point in the qualifying session when the circuit came alive midway through. And after that, ran away. But you heard him there say he wasn't just going to settle for the club win. He wanted to get in amongst the into top 3 and try to steal away a theoretical podium from them, and he almost did that. But in the end, realised the instant points were starting to be accrued, he backed off because Adam didn't want to pick up a drive-through penalty that would see the guaranteed win thrown in the bin. And with that, well, what a way to end the season. A very well-measured race, as we do see the mistake he referred to, that big off going through what was the old hairpin, and we never quite caught that on camera at the time, so it's a good thing we've caught it on the replay today. So that one mistake, but the only big mistake he's had here today, but quickly recovered from it, got his head down to the ground, and well, also enjoyed a brilliant race-long battle with Bradley Setters, and in the end got the upper hand on the man he's been battling for the whole season long. And with Adam Lynch going into Season 13, he'll be expecting to move up a class. He's looking to go to Pro. That'll be the second of our 2 classes in Split A, because of course Elite will be coming back as the very top class, and Pro will be the class under it. And in Split B, we will have the return of Premier and Evo. But understandably for Adam Lynch, wherever he goes, he's looking forward to a new challenge, and he'll be with a new team in the form of Euro Titans Endurance. And we look forward to seeing how much he can step up in an all-new GT3 machine as well. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that completes our interviews for today. We've spoken to our 3 champions, and let's give you a quick reminder of who those provisional champions are and how, in what order we spoke them to them. And as we can see, 3 interviews here today, and we began with none other than your Pro champion for the Superstar Split in Season 12, DCW Racing Blues, Richard Simnor, talking about a day today where it was full of battling, absolutely on the limit, but also a very emotion-led round with regards to the fact that he'd only been earlier on in the day with his mother at hospital supporting her and was able to come away and go racing. It was looking as though he wouldn't be able to, and he had a very emotional crown to take, but his best one in his sim racing career thus far. Jared Love is then who we came to in the interclass, your champion for the class, and talking about the highs and lows of the day, from an incredible pole lap through to a disastrous start. Before he even got to the start line, the car went round in a major contact, but then never gave up, and with a little bit of lady luck on his side, was able to go from 6th to 5th, and in the end, bringing home the crown by only 2 points over Bobby Moss. And then we came to your provisional club champion, Adam Lynch, who seems to have it all set in the bag, with 90-point advantage coming into the round. All he needed was to finish the race, but he came here to win today and take that 4th win. That's exactly what he did, and he did it in dominant style, being 1 step ahead of all of his rivals, including his main rival, Jack Giles, who he dedicated what was his shout-out to, in the fact knowing that Jack kept him honest all season long. Congratulations to all 3 of them. I think we'll all agree they're all deserved champions, and we look forward to seeing them all back on the grid for Season 13. They've all said they're planning to come back, and we look forward to seeing them battling with new rivals and looking to either defend crowns or chase down new ones. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now thinking to yourself, well, surely then that's all it for the GT3 season. Well, the good news is we're not got long until we go racing once again in our GT3s here at SimRacing International. And for all the racing you've seen here today and plenty more, all you need to do is join the official Discord. Invite link at the bottom of the screen. You can see it there in big, bold blue letters, and you can get on the grid for any one of the new seasons of the following. Our Thursday GT3 Championship, which returns as a Season 13 to 2 splits, Split A and Split B. So we go back to our 4 classes of Elite, Pro, Premier and Evo. Alternatively, if you do enjoy GT3 racing, but you're more of a weekend racer, well, of course, we've got you covered because season 18 of the UK Sim Racing Sunday Showdown is about to conclude this weekend, and we'll be back for season 19 only a few weeks afterwards. So be sure to catch that broadcast live from Circuit Side this Sunday to find out the details about that, and we host that on a weekly basis on Sunday evenings. But if you like your GT racing, but you're perhaps more of a GTE fan, particularly in the era of the late 2010s into the early 20s, well, we've got you covered for the Grand Touring Endurance Championship Season 3, which will be returning on Friday evenings in a few weeks' time, every 2 weeks, with 1.5 and 2 hour long races being at the core every second week to give drivers plenty of time to practice and also to give them plenty of time to enjoy what the machines were good at, and that is endurance racing. But what about to the right of those 3 championships? There's a new trophy there, and it is a Motorsport UK Esports approved championship. Well, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to tell you a little bit about our all new championship that's about to be launched very soon, and it is none other than the SimRacing International Transatlantic Trophy. And well, it is dedicated for its opening season to the McLaren. But what exactly is the Transatlantic Trophy, our all-new series, and what will be our showcase series hosted in collaboration with Motorsport UK's esports division as one of their approved championships? And well, what you need to know is thus, in the fact that it is going to be our series, which is dedicated to the McLaren machinery, and what is a brand new championship hosted by us in collaboration with Motorsport UK Esports, with 4 championships available. There's a GT3 Drivers' Championship, a GT4 Drivers' Championship, one for the Pro teams and one for the Prime teams. So if you ever remember the European GT Championship, the EGTC, or more recently, the America's GT Challenge Championship, which featured, of course, GT3 and GT machinery, we're bringing that formula back, and it will be through the Transatlantic Trophy, and we are going big with this one, no doubt about it, because it'll be 10 rounds of multi-class racing with GT3 and GT4 machines, and all of the rounds of racing will be broadcast live from Circuit Side, and I'll be in the commentary booth covering them as they unfold, ladies and gentlemen. But to add a bit more flavour to the information available to you, well, why exactly have we called it the McLaren season? Well, it's because our GT4 and GT3 machines will be the McLaren machines on iRacing. The GT4s will be the McLaren 570S, and meanwhile we'll see the GT3s be the McLaren 720S Evo, and well, drivers will be able to enter as pairings, whereby you have teams of 2 drivers, one a GT3, one a GT4, and one reserve driver who can substitute in for a limited number of rounds in either of the categories where required. And it does mean that drivers are competing for those 4 crowns: the GT3 Drivers' Championship, the GT4 Drivers' Championship, and depending on the rating of the team, based on their combined I rating, they will be assigned as a Pro team or a Prime team. And we will see the teams compete for one of those 2 trophies as well. Indeed, a whole celebration of McLaren, the British manufacturer, indeed at the staple of motorsport on an international scale, whether it be an open wheel or closed wheel in the case of our GT racers. And well, this is a series that you will not want to miss, with our pre-season media event on Wednesday the 29th of July, and we'll be running all the way through to Wednesday the 16th of December, running every 2 weeks. But what exactly is our calendar all about? Well, as we can see there, our calendar is split into 2 equal halves beyond our pre-season event, which begins the season at Silverstone. But then we begin the racing in earnest to earn points in what will be firstly the American Cup, which is focused on the venues being used for the 2026 McLaren Trophy America Series in real life. So we'll be heading to Indianapolis, to Miami, to Sonoma, to Road Atlanta, and Road America. And we'll see a combination of 60 and 90-minute races with mixed conditions thrown into the mix as well. And the second half of the season, we'll see our drivers make their way onto the European continent, and that will be for none other than the Trophy AI European Cup, sponsored by Trophy AI, that one, whereas it's the SimRacing International American Cup to start the season. But in the Trophy AI European Cup, we'll be following the schedule for the European McLaren Trophy, and that'll be going to Monza, to Spa-Francorchamps, to Misano, to Barcelona, and of course, wrapping up the season at the Portimao Grand Prix circuit. A whole mixture of formats there, 60 and 90-minute races as well, with mixed conditions in a couple of races, and therefore it's definitely going to be an exciting season ahead. And we also do have, I do believe, honours up for grabs with regards to our Cup champions. So taking up the Cup crown over the 5 rounds of the Cup, as well as the season-long honours in the overall championships. And, well, to give you a little bit more information in terms of the prize up for grabs, well, of course, we do have our new custom-designed championship trophies, and our first place winners will get a very unique design specific to what will be the Season 1 McLaren Series, and those who finish all the way further down from 2nd to 5th in the GT3 and GT4 Drivers' Championships, and the teams that finish 2nd and 3rd in Pro and Prime, well, they'll be getting our unique Black Edition SimRacing International Championship trophies as well. And there'll be other prizes won, as we see there, for what will be those we'll bring on home at the crowns in the SimRacing International America's Cup, and also the the Trophy IA with MSUK European Cup. And we will also be seeing competitions for the safe and clean drivers out there. Those are the least instant points over the course of the season, and a couple other categories that are planned. We'll be seeing trophies given out for those as well. So a huge season ahead, and indeed our biggest step yet here at SimRacing International. And we'd love to see you get on the grid for what will be the SimRacing International McLaren Transatlantic Trophy Series, or at least the Transatlantic Trophy Season 1, which is all about the McLaren manufacturer. But of course, that is brand new for us here at SimRacing International. And, well, also to wrap up the fact that we've got all these big championships going on. But if you're looking to join the community, perhaps you don't want to join the grid for anything too formal. Perhaps you just want to get in amongst familiar drivers and friendly drivers who have all got the same aspiration as yourself, which is to go for clean and fair racing. Well, we've got our free races per week, of course, in our practice league that runs on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Saturday evenings. So there's never been a better time to get on the grid here at SimRacing International. And if you're sat there right now thinking to yourself, well, if Season 12 of the GT3 Championship is complete, what exactly is in store for Season 13? Well, let's give you a quick reminder of what's coming Season 13. And as we can see, our all-new season will be starting on Thursday, the 25th of June, 2026, and we'll have the return of Split A and Split B, our very popular 4-split 4-class 2-split format. And, well, when we do go racing, we'll see those classes return, whereby those with iRatings of 3,000 plus approximately will go to Elite. Those between 2,000 and 3,000 will go to Pro. They'll be in Split A. And we will see in Split B, it'll be our Premier drivers at 1,500 to 2,000 iRating, and anyone below 1,500 iRating will be in the Club class. And we'll have 2 pace-based splits, understandably, with the both splits being broadcasted live from circuit side on a weekly basis. And I'm very pleased to announce, ladies and gentlemen, that returning to the commentary booth in Split A will be none other than Joe Glass. He's been massively missed, and he'll be joined by Darragh Thacker, the Ultimate Joe. We'll be back once again, covering all the racing action. And a huge shout out, of course, to Chaz Draycott, who has been covering for Joe over the last couple of seasons. It's been massively appreciated from Chaz, and indeed, he's never too far away here at SimRacing International. We absolutely love the man, who now dedicated his time, of course, to covering the FIA Goodyear European Truck Racing Championship in real life for 2026. Back behind the microphone for that, but Joe Glass will be back behind the microphone for Split A alongside Darragh Thacker. And as for Split B, well, of course, you're left with me, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll be back in the commentary booth once again, covering all the racing action featuring our Premier and Club drivers in this series, which will have 120 drivers are split equally, 60 apiece in Split A and Split B. And, well, we've got our 40 personalised driver trophies to be won, and it'll be 5 for the top 5 drivers in Elite, the same in Premier, the same in Pro, the same in Club, and we'll also see our top 5 teams walk away with coveted trophies as well. So there's never been a better series to get involved in. Indeed, make sure you get signed up before all those places are gone, because they're almost fully signed out already. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, it leaves us just a moment, of course, to say a big thank you to our series and league sponsors, Carmate, Modern Technology, and the GP2 Group, and also a big shout out to Motorsport UK's esports division for recognising us here at SimRacing International as a recommended community. We're very grateful for that recognition, and long may it continue. And, well, with that, the only thing left to do is to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that, well, our season's over in terms of points and championship crowns, but it's not quite over yet in terms of Season 12, because in a week's time, we go back to where we started the season, our pre-season event at SimRacing International, because in case you forgot about it, we do have our Masters versus Superstars showdown in our final event of the season, where we do get all of our drivers from the Masters out, or those who are willing to make it to the grid, and the same from Superstars. And it will be the pros in both splits going batting. It will be the Inters in both splits going battling, and it will be the club drivers in both splits going batting. And we will be bringing you all the race action live from circuit side, and it will be one race after another. So we start with, I believe, the clubs, then we go to the Inter, then it will be the pros, and well, it'll be 20 minutes of qualifying followed up by 3 40-minute races, albeit one 40-minute race each for each of our groups of drivers. They'll be scoring points based on the top 20, and we broadcast all the race in action. And in the commentary booth, it'll be myself and James Bostock, and with Mr. B joining me, no doubt about it. It's going to be an absolutely epic way to wrap up Season 12, where we've brought about the Masters and the Superstars, and we look forward to wrapping that up on a high before we return to our Split A and Split B format. And you can catch it all live from circuit side as of approximately what will be about 7:10 next Thursday, on Thursday the 11th of June 2026. So don't forget about it. Be sure to tune in. You won't see everyone on the grid necessarily, but everyone will be out there just batting for a bit of pride. There's no trophies up for grabs, but there will be bragging rights. Who will be the kings? Will it be Masters, or will it be Superstars, or will they be absolutely even on the day? Well, we'll find out there when we do crown our split as champions. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, we've been SimRacing International. That's all the points paying rounds of Season 12 of our Thursday GT3 Championship complete, but we still have the question Master and Superstar, so we'll see you for that next week. But until then, we've been SRI. I'm your host and commentator, Paul Walsh, and until next time, we have to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, as always, like our drivers did for the most part in the Superstar split today, remember to stay on track. Good night.